Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. If you can't hear me at any time, let me know. Okay.
And I would also ask that if you speak loud enough for you to hear you.
Okay. You might need to come a little closer to the microphone if you can. Okay. How old are you?
35.
Where are you from?
Troy, Michigan.
When did you leave home or come to Florida?
Around 14 years old.
Where had you been living just prior to you 14 years old when you decided to come to Florida?
I was living in Troy, Michigan.
Okay, with your family?
Yes.
Why did you come to Florida?
Because when I was younger and I was living out in the streets, I was sleeping in the snow and all. It was too cold, and I had to come to Florida where it was warmer weather and seek warmer shelter.
Okay. How did you come to Florida?
I hitchhiked.
And did you come with a friend or how did you come?
By myself.
How did you support yourself during those early years?
Well, I had a couple jobs for 75 cents an hour, but I basically was a prostitute.
Okay. Well, when did you start becoming a prostitute, lady?
At the age of 16.
Okay. And how did that happen? How did you end up getting into that particular profession?
Well, when I was hitchhiking, a lot of guys would pick me up and they'd ask me if I wanted to make some money. And they'd give me like $60 or $100, and back in them days, $2, you could get a $2 meal for, a cheap meal. So it was really good money. I was only making 75 cents an hour, and it was excellent money to help me because I was on the road. And so I took the offer, and that's where I became a hitchhiking prostitute.
Were you always in Florida doing that?
No, I was all over the United States.
Okay. And how old were you when you finally came to Florida to settle? Do you remember?
Yes, I was about, I was 16 when I came to Florida. Mm-hmm. But to just settle, I was about 20.
And you ever have children?
Yes, I have one son.
And how old are you then?
He should be about 21 or 22. Oh, I was 14.
And did you give the child up, or what happened?
Yeah, you're on your own. Better answer the question.
My grandmother made me give the child up. My grandmother and grandfather.
You thought of your grandparents as your parents?
Yes, they adopted me.
How often over the last few years, let's start 4 or 5 years ago, how often would you go out during the week to hustle on the highways?
Just previously?
Let's say the last 4 or 5 years.
Well, I would go out about anywhere from 3 to 7 days. It depended. Basically 4 days out of the week for sure.
Okay. And how many men would you say you had contact with during the course of the day?
I would say I had at least anywhere from 3 to 8. It depended. It varied, but definitely 3 a day at least. But it varied. I could have 6. I could have 8.
And not all of those contacts, or were all of those contacts sexual?
Yes, those are sexual contact.
And did you have contacts with men on the road that weren't sexual?
Oh yeah, every day, at least 8 to 15, because I worked from exit to exit.
Okay, explain that. You worked from exit to exit.
Well, I would leave Daytona. And there's times I'd spend the whole day on the road or the whole night, and I'd stay 2 or 3 days gone. And I just worked from one exit to the other. If a guy would pick me up and he wasn't interested, now a lot of guys asked me too. I didn't have to ask them. And if they were interested, fine. But if they weren't, I'd just get off the next exit and try again.
Okay. there came a time when you met Tyra Moore. When was that?
1986.
And describe the relationship with Ty.
Well, I met her at the Zodiac, and from the very first day I met her, we fell head over heels with each other, and the first year we were pretty, kind of sexual, but when the second year and the third year and on, we became like sisters, and I loved her very deeply. She loved me very deeply, but we didn't care about the sex part anymore. We just cared about each other. We were really, really close, like a knot, tied like a rope, like a knot.
Did your, I'm going to call it hustling because that's what you call it. Your hustling stop once you got into the relationship with Ty?
No, matter of fact, she quit her job at Al Kareeb. The first month that I was with her, she quit her job because I told her I make $150 a day or better, and you only make $150 a week. So if you want to quit, I'll support you. And she was all for it, and she continued to support me like a cheerleader. She wanted me out there. She told me all the time to go out and make more money.
Did you begin to go out more often? Did there come a time you started?
Well, the last year she didn't like the trailer living, and she just constantly was telling me that I wasn't providing enough for her, that she wanted me to go out there and make more money because she wanted me to get a pressure cleaner business again and also get a house for her, everything else. So she said, I want you to go out there more often. She was pretty much like my pimp, it seemed like I was a white slave. I didn't realize it, but she'd tell me to go on out there. If I didn't, she was going to break up with me and find another girl that would definitely take care of her, and I loved her to the max, and I wasn't going to do that.
Did you talk about your experiences on the road with her?
Not really.
Why not?
She didn't want to hear it. She always told me not to talk to her about it. She didn't care what happened to me out there.
Did you try to talk to her about Richard Mallory?
Yeah, I did, but she didn't want to listen.
And during the times that you were with Ty, did she ever work?
Tyra worked when I first met her at Al Kareeb, and she quit a month. I took care of her, and then she worked for a couple times at Zephyr Hills Motel, but she didn't get any money. That was for board, so I took care of her there. The only solid job she ever had, she was a laundry worker for 2 months, and that didn't work long, so forget that. The only solid job she had was Casa Del Mar the last year. She was making like about $300 every 2 weeks, or $277, something like that.
And was she working when you two split up?
No.
And had she quit her job?
She got fired.
Do you know why?
She beat up her boss.
So during these periods of time, were you supporting her?
Yes.
What were you spending your money on?
Oh, wow. Well, see, I wanted to save up for like a house and a pressure cleaner and everything else. And every time I came home with money, she always wanted to go to the mall, buy clothes. I never bought clothes for myself. I had a bra even that had Band-Aids on it and safety pin and everything. I mean, I never could. I just took care of her. I didn't really seem to want to care about myself. I just took care of her and bought her a lot of clothes and everything. And a lot of times she'd just go to bars, and we'd go to fancy restaurants and bars, and we blew it all in basically bars. I mean, $100. I saw her spend $200 in a quarter machine for stuffed animals in one night, just on quarters in the machine. She whatever she wanted, she got it. I loved her very much.
Did you like to drink too?
Yes, I drank.
Did you drink a lot?
Just as much as her. We always kept even. We always made sure we were drinking the same amount, so one wouldn't have more than the other. That's how close we were. We did everything together.
Would you drink when you were out on the road working?
Yeah, I drank about, I'd say anywhere from 2 to 6 beers, sometimes more, sometimes less.
Why would you drink out on the road?
Well, it was like my tranquilizer. I was shy and hard to, sometimes I was just shy. I was embarrassed about my body because I had whipped. Well, I was just shy, and it was my tranquilizer, and plus I was scared out there sometimes. I was nervous, but I knew that was my profession. It's the only thing I could do, so.
Did you accept rides with men of all ages?
Yes, I did. Yeah, but the young guys I decided not to deal with because I've learned throughout time that they were always high, they were always stoned on or something, and they just seemed a little more aggressive and like a violent attitude or something. I didn't trust them, and they always were stoned or something. And I don't do drugs, so.
Prior to meeting Richard and Mallory, had you ever been hurt while you were out working on the road?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Well, twice I had mace guns, and they got those away from me and beat me up pretty bad and raped me. And then I had this bullfighter mace that a friend of mine gave me.
Objection, Your Honor, to the question not specifying some kind of time frame or time reference.
Later, I guess.
Within the last 5 years, starting with the first time, within the last 5 years, we'll go back later, if you would tell the jury about any instances and where you were living when these occurred.
Okay. I was living with Tyra and Oleander, and it was, you want the year or something?
If you recall the year.
Yes, it was in 86 and 87 and 88.
Okay.
And also there was a couple of guys that raped me without any weapon, and I got hurt on that and everything.
When you were a young girl, just starting out, were you ever physically hurt while you were out on the road? And if you were, again, tell us where you were and how old you were.
Okay, I was hurt a couple of times. There was this guy in Jeffersonville, Indiana. He was a third-degree karate and judo instructor and a 7th grade school teacher, and I met him in a lounge, and he beat me up so bad you couldn't describe my face, and I got away from him. When I finally got help and the police arrived, they told me that he raped a police officer's daughter and disfigured her face so bad you couldn't describe it, and that he'd killed 2 teenagers, and they were in the backyard of his house, buried in cement. I was lucky. I got away, and it took me I did a report and everything, but I don't know what happened. They were just beating him up with flashlights and everything else and told me not to say anything. But I was beat up. It took me about 2 months to recover. I still had yellow and purple and everything on my face.
Why didn't you quit working the roads after you've been hurt?
Because it was my only way I could, I tried to get churches to help me, and they told me I had to be part of the congregation, and they wouldn't help me. And I tried to be a police officer when I was 20 years old. They told me I had to have $3,000 for tuition, and then they'd send me to some academy or something like that. I didn't have my GED. Then I tried to be a correctional officer here in Daytona, and they told me I had to have a car. I didn't have a car, I only had a bicycle. Then I tried the Salvation Army. They told me I can only crash at their place for 1 day out of every 364 years. You can only stay 1 night. And I tried and tried and tried to help myself. I took the aptitude battery test for the Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines. I missed by 3 to 5 points every time. And I thought that would help me get off the road by just going into the government military field, and I didn't pass. That took me 2 years because you gotta wait 6 months every time to take the aptitude battery test. And so the only thing I could do was be a prostitute and live off of. I lived here and there and everywhere. But I had apartments at one time, but then I lost them and stuff. And
Do you remember catching a ride with Richard Mallard?
yes.
If you remember, when did you meet him?
It was at the end of November,
Of what year?
1989.
Where were you when you first met Richard Mallard?
I was on I-4 underneath an I-75 overpass.
And describe the first meeting that you had with him.
Well, I was coming from Fort Myers. I had spent a couple nights there. The second night, I left Fort Myers. I left about 5:30, 6 o'clock. And it took me about 6 rides to get to I-4. I finally arrived at I-4. It was raining. So I walked off, I walked down the ramp to I-4. It was raining, so I got underneath the bridge, and I was waiting for it to stop raining, and I was pretty much off into where the viaduct, I think you call her, with that slab of cement. I was right under there, away from the vehicles, because when they were passing, it was spraying rain all over me. So I was over there waiting for it to stop raining. Then it slowed down, and I decided I was going to walk toward the light. There was a big light out there. I was going to walk under it so they could tell, what if I was a girl or a guy or, what I was. And as I started to walk, a vehicle pulled over before I even got past the bridge, and then its lights came on and started backing toward me, and I didn't know if it was a bunch of guys in a car or what, but anyway, a vehicle passed, and its headlights went on in the vehicle, and I saw one head, so I felt all right, walked up to the car. I opened the door, and I said, did you stop for me? And he said, yeah. Are you going to Orlando? I said, no, I'm going to Daytona. He said, oh, wow, you're a lucky day, man, because I'm going all the way to Daytona. I said, oh, wow, this is great. So I got in the car, and we proceeded down the road.
Let me ask you something, Lee. At this time, the time that you met Richard Mallard, had you started carrying a gun?
I carried the gun 6 months before, at least, or 4 months. I can't really recall when, but it was in Rutland when I got the pistol.
Okay. And why were you carrying a gun?
For strictly protection.
If you will, describe your trip with Mr. Mallory from the time he picked you up until, let's say, for Orlando.
Okay. All right. When he picked me up and now we're going down the road. Okay.
Just, if you will, were you having a conversation with him?
Yes. Okay.
Tell us about that.
All right. So when he picked me up, he asked me, where I was going. I told him Daytona. I was really glad and everything. We started down the road. He asked me if I wanted to drink. He had some kind of, I didn't know what it was. I just saw tonic bottles, and then I thought it said Smirnoff. I'm not sure. And he asked me if I wanted to drink, and then I asked him, I said, well, what is it? He says, vodka. So I said, all right. And I think he had orange juice. And I said, sure, I'll take a drink, So he pulled over and he made me a drink. And then we started back on the road. And then he asked me if I wanted to smoke some marijuana. I said, no, my hands swell, feet swell, my heart beats a mile a minute. I can't stand it, but if you smoke it, that's your business. And he said, well, then you don't mind. I said, it's your car. I don't care what you do. It's up to you. And he said, okay. So he's smoking marijuana and going down the road. And then he asked me what I did. And I told him I'm in the pressure cleaning. And I asked him what he did. He said he had a video store. that he owned, and that he was on his way to Daytona. He was telling me about his video store. He was on his way to Daytona to see some topless bars, and if I knew any girls out there that'd be interested in pornography films, that he'd give $2,000 to $3,000 an hour for these sessions. And I told him I don't know anybody. I'm into pressure cleaning, and I only got one girlfriend that I know, and I know she wouldn't be interested, so sorry, I can't help you there. And so we just talked about anything, politics, religion, talked about his store a lot. And still on the sex part now and then, but I told him I don't know anybody, constantly on that stuff. Finally arrived to Orlando, and he asked me if I wanted any beer instead of mixed drink, because I had told him that I don't drink mixed drinks that much, and that I haven't had a mixed drink in about 10 years, it seems.
Had you had any other alcohol that day?
Yes, I drank beer in Fort Myers. I just came out of the office pub on my way back to Daytona. See, I had made around $300, and I only had about $250 or $60 left. I didn't want to blow it because I had to get back and get that apartment.
Okay. So, what did you do once you got to Orlando?
Okay, so when I got to Orlando, he went ahead and he bought a 6-pack for me. I think it was Bush. He asked me if I wanted a pack of cigarettes. I said, no, thank you. I've got some already. And then he just got a little more gas, and we went down the road. We got past Orlando, and we had to stop, go to the bathroom, so we got out and went to the bathroom. Then I got back in. He was talking about his wife or his ex-wife. I don't remember if he was married or not married or nothing, but he was talking about having problems with this lady he was worried about losing his video store, and he was losing his business. He's going to lose his house, he's going to lose his car, he's going to lose everything. And I don't know if he was married or not.
Okay. Did you proposition him?
No.
Why not?
Because I was too exhausted and everything. I had enough money, and I just wanted to get home. All I wanted to do was get home. That's all I cared about. It was late. It was about 11:30 when he picked me up.
Okay.
At night.
So, tell us what happened next.
Okay, so anyway, then we stopped, went to the bathroom. Then he kept asking me, he said, well, how come you understand married people so well? And I said, well, because I always talk to a lot of married people. He said, but I just can't, man, you're just like a psychologist or a counselor. I mean, you're a good listener, and you also give good advice. I said, well, thank you, So then he said, do you mind if we just kind of stop somewhere and talk for a little while? I'd like to, listen to your advice and stuff. You're helping me and stuff. And I said, well, I really want to get home. I'm really tired and everything, and I've been hitchhiking for so long. And he said, well, I mean, let's just go talk for an hour or something. I mean, I'll take you home. And I said, well, it's getting pretty late. If I go home, the dog's I don't have a key on me. If I go home, the dog's gonna start barking. The manager lives right next door, and I'm gonna have to wake up Ty in the middle of the night. She has to go to work early in the morning. Cassie Delmar, she was still working. So I said, well, I guess I wouldn't mind stopping and talking to you, because I've got to pass a little time anyway. I'm going to have to wait till in the morning. I don't know what I'm going to do. I might even have to, get a motel or something. I don't know what I'm going to do, because it's too late for me I don't want Maggie to wake up the manager, because he's already in the mood to kick us out. Okay. So, then he said, well, okay, I'll give you a lift home. I said, well, great, then that's going to save me on taxi money, too. So he said, all right. He said, well, where do you live around? I said, well, you got to get off at US 1, and then you go to Granada. You take Granada over to A1A, and then you go north, and I live at the Ocean Shores, I think it was called, motel. So then we continued. We decided, okay, I'd stop. So he got off of I-4 to 95, went north, got to US 1, got off, and he parked at a gas station.
How long had it taken you to get to that point from when he first picked you up? Do you know?
It was about 2.5 hours from Daytona.
Yeah, when he first picked you up until you got to this place where he stops to get gas.
Yeah.
Gas station, I guess.
Yeah, I'd say 2.5 hours.
Okay. All right, so what happened after you saw that?
okay, so then he said, well, where can we park? And I said, well, anywhere, this is fine. You can park right there if you want to. And he said, no, I'm smoking pot and I don't want to get busted. And plus we got all this booze and stuff and, patrol car comes by. And I said, well, if you go north up here, there's a whole lot of places up here. And there's even Quail Run. They've got like a subdivision up there and it's out near Benalla. It's really quiet up there if you want to go there. So he said, okay, let's go and check that place out. So we went over there and we're sitting there talking, and we talked for at least, I'd say, an hour and a half, 2 hours, just talking about everything. He still asked me about the chronos and all that stuff, and I said, no.
Were you drinking?
Yes. I was drinking beer. He was drinking his mixed drinks. And he was still smoking his pot. I couldn't believe he was smoking so much pot. I even asked him what kind it was eventually. He said Sensimilli. And I've heard Sensimilli some heavy pot, so I couldn't believe it. But he was handling it, and he was doing all right. And so then we were talking away and everything. And okay, so he asked me, how come if you knew married people, you're so good at counseling and everything, if you know married people so well, you told me you're single and you have a roommate, how can you know so many married people? So then I finally told him, I said, I guess I'm going to have to explain to you, Richard, because you're being so honest with me and I'm going to be honest with you. I said, I'm a hooker. I hustle for a living. And he said, hustle, you mean a sex? And I said, yeah, this is sex. Okay. So then he said, well, God, I thought we were going to get it on. I mean, eventually get it on together, but you don't do it for free. You do it for money, right? I said, that's right, I do it for money. He said, so you don't do it for free, right? I said, no, I don't. This is my job. This is what I do for a living.
Okay, so what would you do next after you had that conversation with him?
Then he asked me how much I charged, and I said 30 for head, 35 straight, 40 for half and half, 100 an hour. And I said, well, 100 an hour, I don't usually, make the person, after an hour's up, I don't say, well, you got to give me another $100. If the guy's all right, I'm just staying with him, we become friends. I just, thanks a lot, because I only want enough for rent and whatever. I don't care about. I'm not greedy. I don't care about making anymore. 100 is fine. It's good enough for rent. That's cool. They're now my friends. They're now another client. And so that's what I told him. And he said, so you mean tell me if I gave you $100, we could spend a couple hours together? And I said, I guess so. I've been with you all this time, and plus I gotta wait for dawn to come because I can't get home. And he said, all right, well, that sounds okay with me. He said, where's another place to go? Because we can't go here. I mean, it's wide open and everything. And I said, well, if we go back near the gas stations, there's a campground there, and there's some little places that kind of pull off in the road if you want to go there. He said, okay. So we started cruising down there. And he fixed another drink, and he's smoking another pot. I mean, and he had this pipe that went into the marijuana, and it just twisted, and then I don't know what it's called, but that's what he was doing. I couldn't believe how much he smoked. And I grabbed another beer, and I told him, I said, oh my God, I forgot to tell you, I use rubbers, it's mandatory. And he said, I said, we might have to stop at the gas station and get some rubbers because I don't have any. He said, no, I got some. I said, oh, okay, that's good. So we started down the road, and finally we got to the area. We couldn't see into the trail, so he asked me to get a flashlight out of the glove box. He said, I got a flashlight out of the glove box, and I'm looking around. We finally saw the trail. We went in. You couldn't go too far in at all. We were real close to the road, and cars were going by, and you could see. So he took a smaller, tinier flashlight out of the glove box and put it on the dash. So they wouldn't see the dome light because we were pretty close to the road. And then he said, well, I got an idea. How about if we both do this now, we both get undressed so I know that you won't skip out on my money. And I said, well, Richard, I've never rolled a client in my life. I've never skipped out on anybody, but I can understand, I think, what you're saying, because I told you I use rubbers. And I ain't gonna do it without any rubbers with anybody. I don't care. No exception to the rule. And I'm precautious, so I guess you're being precautious too. So, okay, this sounds fine with me.
Is that unusual for you to take off all of your clothes first?
No, because I used to do it all the time to let my clients know that I wasn't going to leave on them or anything, you know. So I was being honest with them. Hey, I'm all right. I'm a good, you know, I'm cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what happened after that? Did you take your clothes off? After you had that conversation with him?
Well, he told me he had to go back and get some rubbers out of the trunk. He said, don't worry, I'm going to go get some rubbers out of the trunk. I'm going to go get a sleeping bag and a yellow blanket. I mean, eventually it was yellow, a blanket. And he was going to put it in the front seat so he wouldn't get anything on the car seat. And so then he came back. Oh, well, wait a minute. I was undressing then. And I took my bag, I put it over near the hump here, and I started to take off my jeans and stuff. And by the time I was starting to take off my jeans and everything, he came back. I was half undressed, and I was putting my stuff in the back seat. And then I said to him, I helped rearrange the sleeping bag and everything on the seat. I went and took a leak and everything. And then I said to him, well, this ain't fair. I said, we agreed upon both of us get nude. I'm the only one nude. And he turned down the dome light and he said, not bad. And I said, well, I don't know, because I've got a lot of stretch marks in the beer belly and everything. And I think otherwise sometimes. And then he had this kind of smirk on his face. He said, you'll do, and turns off the dome light.
Was he mad?
Huh?
Was he mad at you for asking him to take his clothes off?
Yeah, I didn't ask him to take his... I haven't asked him yet. I'm starting to now, but
Okay.
I haven't even asked him yet.
Okay.
And that's the next thing I asked him. I said, well, Richard, why don't you take off your clothes and let's get started because it's cold in here, because it was really cold outside. And he rolled down his window and he said, yeah, it is cold. I love cold weather. And all this wind, because it was windy out, all this wind's blowing in. So I said, hey, Richard, why don't you close the window, man? It's cold, man. And so he's ignoring me, and he started acting like he was unbuckling his pants and unzipping his pants. And he said, what if I told you I don't have enough money? And like, I'm telling you, I don't really care. I was just doing this I was really just doing this past time, but I wasn't going to do it for free. I definitely have to make something out of it because I've got somebody at home I can get my sex from if I need it. And I mean, you know what I'm saying. Okay. So, anyways, I said, how much do you have you got? And he said, I've only got a little for breakfast and some for gas. And I said, Richard, I said, no way. I said, I'm not here for my health. I said, we made an agreement, and I'm sorry, but I guess we're going to have to just call this off, you know, because he's acting like he don't have any money. So I turned around, and I had my clothes on top of some boxes or something that were in the back, something there. I can't remember exactly, but they were on something. And I started to grab them. And as I started to grab my clothes, I saw him coming toward me. And I was going to turn to look at him, and before I even got a chance to turn to look at him, he whipped a cord around my neck and pulled me toward him.
Okay. Had you told him at that point, I'm not going to have sex with you? Had you said no?
Yes, I told him no way. I said, I'm not here for my health, no way. You know, we're going to have to call this off then.
Tell us what happened after you felt the cord around your neck.
Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm really nervous, and I'm really getting pretty shy and embarrassed, and this is hard for me, so just bear with me. He put the cord around my neck, and he said, yes, you are, bitch. He said, you're going to do everything I tell you to do. And if you don't, I'll kill you right now. And I'll fuck you after. Just like the other sluts I've done. And, then he said, it doesn't matter to me Your body will still be warm for my huge cut. And he said, he was choking me and I was holding it like this. And he said, "Do you want to die, slut?" And I just nodded no. And then he said, "Are you gonna listen to everything I've got to say? Have you do?" And I just nodded yes. And he told me to lay down on this car seat. So when he told me to lay down, he told me to give me my hands. And so I had to lift up my hands like this, and he tied my hands and he tied me to the steering wheel.
Okay, where is he in relation to you at this point?
He's sitting in the driver's seat.
Is he behind you?
I'm laid down like this with my feet near the window.
Okay.
And
Okay. And then what happened?
then he got out of the car. He told me to slide up and get comfortable because he's going to see how much meat he can pound in my ass. So he walked around from the driver's seat to the passenger side and opened the door. He started to undress and he's throwing his clothes on the floor. And this is very embarrassing for me. So he got in, and then he lifted my legs all the way up, where my feet are near the window.
Okay, what happened next?
Then he began to start having anal sex. And he's doing this very violent movement. And then I don't know if he came or climax. I talk street talk, so I don't know if he did that. And he violently took himself out and violently put himself in my vagina.
Were you saying anything to him at that point?
No, I was crying my brains out.
Okay. Was he saying anything to you?
Yes, he was saying that he loved to hear me pain when I moaned, and he loved to hear my crying, and it turned him on.
Okay, then what happened?
Then he pretty much bruised like my cervix and all and everything else. He got off. He had bruised my ribs and everything else. And he got off. And he got up, took his clothes, walked over to the driver's side. And then he put his clothes on the hood of the car. He had the door open. Now, went and got the ignition out of the car, went into the trunk and got something out of the trunk. And he brought it back, and it was a red cooler and a blue tote bag. So, anyway, in this red cooler was 2-liter bottles. I think they were Pepsi. I don't know, but they were 2 big bottles full of water, I think. The tote bag had a maroon large towel, something like a white or yellow towel. I was turning my head to see what he was doing when I was tied to the steering wheel, and he was straining my neck, so sometimes I had to put my head back down because I couldn't turn it all the way to see what he was doing. And at one time I asked him, I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm full of surprises, honey, for you tonight." And I turned my head, kept watching, and the dome light was on, so this is how I saw what was coming out of the bag. And then there was the bar soap, toothbrush, rubbing alcohol, and a bottle of Aileen. So then he took the bottle of rubbing alcohol and the bottle of Aileen, put it in front of my face, and he said, "This is what this is." And I'm like, "What?" And he takes the Aileen bottle and he puts it on the front of the dash. And he takes the rubbing alcohol and puts it with his other stuff. And this guy begins to take a bath because he had blood all over his penis. And with some other jazz, which I don't think I should say.
By taking a bath, do you mean he was cleaning himself?
He began to take a bath using this water in the bottle. He put rubbing alcohol, I guess. I don't know if it was rubbing alcohol or what, but later he just poured it all over himself, and he was saying that the last sluts he had, he thought were full of disease, and he always had to clean himself.
Okay, what happened next?
So he's cleaned himself, blowing me away. And I said to myself, I think this guy is going to kill me. He's going to get rid of me. Or I don't know what he's going to do, dissect me or something. I don't know what he's got in this bag. Like, he's strange. He is totally weird. So he gets everything. He gets done cleaning. He puts his clothes back on. He gets the cooler, brings it back to the trunk, puts everything in the tote bag, leaves it there. He goes around the passenger side. He grabs a bottle of Aileen from the dashboard. He goes around the passenger side, and he says, "This is one of my surprises." Oh Lord, my ears are ringing, and I'm dizzy a little.
Put your head down for a second. We can wait.
Okay. All right, so takes the Aileen and he lifts up my legs and he puts what turns out to be rubbing alcohol in the Aileen bottle, and he sticks some of my rectum area with it. And that really hurt really bad because he tore me up for a while. And then he put some in my vagina, which really hurt bad. Then he walked around to the back driver's seat side and he pulled my nose open like this. Pulled them open and he squirted rubbing alcohol down my nose. And he said, "I'm saving your eyes for the grand finale," and he put the Aileen back on the dash. And I was really pissed. I didn't care. I was yelling at him and everything else. He was laughing away, saying, "That's what I want to hear." Or he start crying and all that pain. Then he put it there, and there's a few more items on the car. He put it back in the tote bag. Then he put the tote bag back in the trunk. Closed the trunk. Came back, he had this gray radio, a square gray radio with 2 speakers on it. Went into the back of the seat, got the gray radio. Then went around the passenger side, made a drink, because he couldn't get it through with me tied to the steering wheel. And then he walked back to the driver's side and went underneath the seat and got his marijuana, got his cigarettes off the dash, And I guess he walked over to the front of the car because I couldn't see where he was. And I felt the car move, and he's just sitting there, and he cranks up the radio. The window is still open in the car. I'm freezing to death. And so he's just sitting out there listening to the radio, and I'm thinking this guy is thinking how he's going to kill me. So I'm trying desperately to get off untied from the steering wheel. I tried 101 times, and he even said, I can feel you moving in there, don't worry, you ain't gonna get untied unless I untie you. I didn't care, I kept trying, and I kept moving my body up like this and pulling and pulling. So finally he came back. After about an hour, it must have been an hour or so, it seemed like the longest time. And he said, finally the cold weather got to me, do you believe it? I'm getting in. So I'm thinking, how is he going to get in? I'm here, tied to the steering wheel, how can he get in? And he said, I'm going to untie you from the steering wheel, you better be a good girl, I'll kill you. He said, so he untied me from the steering wheel. He untied me and put the rope around my neck and held it like a leash around my neck. He told me to move over so he could move in. So he moved over. I moved over. And he moved in. And then closed the door. And he's still saying all kinds of jazz about what he wants to do. So then he told me to turn toward him, lay down, and spread my legs. He has all his clothes on. I guess he's just going to unzip himself, I don't know.
Were you saying anything to him, Lee?
I didn't say nothing. I was scared.
Okay, so then what happened?
I may have said something sardonic to him, like, why you still got your clothes on? Why don't you take your clothes off like you did before? So I don't know. I don't recall. I may have. I don't know. Maybe. It's too long ago. It took me long. It was hard enough for me to remember these blackouts because this is a blackout situation that I had to remember. I don't recall every incident, every word and all that. That's hard for me to remember. I'm trying hard best to remember everything he did say.
Okay, just tell us what you do remember.
Okay, so he had me turn and he wanted to start having sex with me. And he had the rope, not the rope, it was I later learned it was jacked to a stereo, but it was cut. There was only one jack, and it says how I found out it was jacked to a stereo or something, or TV or something. It was round, gray. So he was holding me like this, like reins. That's when I said, I'm gonna grab this. He grabbed it, came right out of his hand, I flung it in the back seat.
Did you say to him, I'm gonna grab this, or
No, my mind.
Okay.
I said, grab it now, do something, you gotta fight. I thought to myself, I gotta fight, I'm gonna die. This guy is gonna play with me, and then he's gonna kill me. He's already said he's gonna kill me, he's already said he killed other girls. I gotta fight. I just gotta fight for my life. Plus, now, I was close to the area where my bag was, where my gun was.
Where was your bag?
My bag was near the hump because I had first had it in the right side, but I had to move it because it was in the way for me to get my jeans off. And so I kind of moved it almost on the hump. Actually, it was almost on the hump. I pushed it all the way over so I could get room to move and change.
Okay, so what happened next?
So then, I grabbed it, flung it, he takes his left arm, he choking, and I grabbed my I can't. He just grabbed me like this, and I grabbed my hand up like this and kept it away. He slapped me really hard in the face, and he started choking me, but I grabbed his right arm, right arm, yes, and I kept it up, and I got upward with my feet, and I pushed him back, and he kind of quit struggling and just got up on his knees and said, "You're going to be a lot of fun." And while he was saying that, I jumped up real fast and I spit in his face. And he said, "You're a dead bitch, you're dead." And he's wiping his eyes. And I laid down real quick and I grabbed my bag. And he was starting to come for me when I grabbed my bag and whipped my pistol out toward him. And he was coming toward me with his right arm, I believe. And I shot immediately, and I think I shot twice, as fast as I could.
So then what'd you do?
And he started coming at me again, and I shot. He stopped. I hurried, kind of pushed him away from me. And he kind of sat up on the driver's seat. I hurried, opened the passenger door, ran around the driver's side, opened the door real fast, looked at him, and he started to come out. And I said, "Don't come out. Don't come near me. I'll shoot you again," or something like that. "Don't make me have to shoot you again," or something like that. He just started coming at me, and I shot. And I don't know where I shot him. I just shot him. And he fell on the ground. And then I pulled him away from the car. You want to hear the rest? What happened?
What happened after you shot him the last time?
I stood there and looked at him and thought what I'm going to do with the car. And I said, I got to drag him away from the car because he's near the car. I'm going to run him over if I don't move him. So I dragged him away. I got back in the car totally nude. I went to reach for the keys and the ignition to start up. It wasn't there. So I ran back to him. I looked in his pockets for his keys, got his keys, went back to the car, started it up, backed up. Headlights, turned him on. I turned him on, looking at his body. I went back to him, checked his pulse. He was dead. I saw a carpet in front of him because of the headlights. I said, I don't want the birds to be picking at his body. So I grabbed the carpet and I put it over him. Jumped in the car, backed out, took off and went back to Quail Run.
Lee, did you take anything else off of him when you went into his pockets other than the car keys?
No.
So you went back to Quail Run?
Yes.
Why did you go back over to Quail Run?
Because I was totally nude and I had to get dressed. And I also had to get my senses together. I was totally crying, shaking, totally scared out of my mind. And I had to change. I had to get on my clothes and everything. And then when I got there, I realized that I had a little bit of blood on me and stuff. So I went into the trunk and got out the stuff he took out. And I started cleaning myself like he did. And then I put my clothes back on. And then I took all the stuff that was in the car and threw it on the floorboard. And I took all my stuff and put it on the seat and just sat there wondering what to do, drinking a beer and thinking, what am I going to do? I just didn't know what I was going to do. And I said, I'm going to have to lay low. I don't know what I'm going to do, man. I can't get out. I'm going to have to drop this car off, whatever. When I saw the radar detector, I said, I'll keep it to pawn it off for food or whatever, because I'm not going to be able to get out on the road now. I'm scared. They're going to find his body. I've got to go and hurry up and dump this car.
What time is it by this time?
This is, I remember when I was throwing stuff out. I was throwing a bunch of stuff out in the woods. Just kept on throwing. At 9 Quail Run, I drove to another area. I stopped again and I threw a bunch of stuff out in the woods. And I noticed his watch and I checked it. It was 6:30 in the morning.
When do you last remember in terms of time that he was alive?
I don't know how long. See, I didn't know what time it was. All I know is he was out there sitting in the car on the hood for about an hour, and I never got to know what time it was.
All right, so what did you do after that, after you noticed what time it was?
I said, I've got to hurry up and get back to Ty. I'm tired, I'm beat up, I'm hurting all over, my crotch hurts, my vagina hurts, my nose hurts, I'm freaking out, I've got to go take a shower. I mean, these are the things that are going through my mind, you know, as I'm sitting there. I gotta hurry up and get rid of this car, go back home, take a shower, hurry up and get this car. I was going to take it to the car wash it, and go drop it off somewhere to get rid of all my prints. I'm so scared now because I just said, I have to kill this guy. And I don't know what to do.
What did you do?
Well, I went back home. When I got home, my plan was to go to the car wash the car off and everything else, and get rid of it. But when I got there, Maggie, my dog Maggie, and my cat Tyler, Maggie tore the chair all to shreds. She chews carpets too, and she chewed the carpet all to shreds, tore the curtains and the blinds all up. So when I knocked on the door and Tyler opened the door for me, and I saw this, I said, "What is this?" And she said, "I don't know, Maggie and Tyler just got crazy." I was at work. I said, "Oh my God." And I just realized, you know, that I've got this guy's car. We're supposed to move that day. It's totally a coincidence that we were moving that day. We had 3 people that were going to move us around 5 o'clock after Ty got off. And I said, man, if the manager sees this, he's going to call the cops. He's going to have the cops here. I've got the car here, everything. I've got to get rid of the car and everything. So I said, all the boxes everything was ready to move. And I said, let's move now. I've got a guy loaned me a car. Like that, I said to her. And I said, he's waiting at a motel. He's going to let us keep it for just a couple hours to move. I just said it like that. And I told her to call Jane and tell her we're coming over. Just to hurry up and get out of that room because it was totally destroyed. And then she said, "What are those hickeys on your neck?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" And so I walked into the bathroom and I looked and I said, "Oh, no, I must have slapped a mosquito real hard or something." I was trying to ignore it and she kept asking me. She said, "I told you, don't you ever go out there with those hickeys out. Get a hickey out there when you're out on the road." And I said, "They're not hickeys, don't worry. I just slapped a mosquito too hard or something. I don't know what it is." And then that was the end of that. And then we hurried up and got the stuff in and we just left.
What did you finally do with Richard Mallory's car?
Okay, we got to the new apartment. I hurried up. We put our stuff in. Ty had to hurry up and go to work. I had to go right back to the motel. She had to pick up the moped. I think it was 12-speed. My 12-speed was there too. The moped and 12-speed worked together. I decided to put the 12-speed in the back of the trunk, and she took the moped, went to work. I went to the car wash, hurried up and washed the car, cleaned it out. Then I went down Johnny Anderson, went up to a place to park it, and I took the bicycle out, and I was going to ride home. I was cleaning the car out to make sure about prints. I forgot the glove box, and that's where because I found his wallet underneath the seat, and I went through it to find out if he really was Richard or what his name was and that. And a bunch of credit cards and everything else. And I just threw it in the glove box, and as I was wiping down, I remember the glove. I opened it up and I said, oh God, I forgot to throw this out. So I went in the back of the car, I dug a hole, and I put it there, and then I found this darn vodka bottle was underneath the seat, and a couple more glasses were underneath the seat that I didn't notice. So I took them out, put them in, so I started checking underneath the seat really good to get everything. And I was finding like pens, and I was finding business cards and stuff, and I was just throwing it. I didn't really know what I was doing. When I got done burying the wallet and the glass and the vodka bottle in it and the glass and stuff, the stuff else that I was finding in the car, I was just throwing it. I didn't even, just throwing the stuff out. Which, see, I didn't know what I was doing here. I was doing this to bury for prints to make sure my prints were on there. And then I was throwing stuff out, so I didn't have.
Did you take anything out of Richard Mallory's wallet when you were going through it?
Well, he only had about $38 or 42 or 48, something like that. It wasn't very much money.
Did you take it?
Yes.
Did you take any credit cards?
No.
What did you do after you finished throwing things into the woods?
And I got on my bicycle, I started riding, and just threw the keys into somebody's yard or something. It was like a bush or something. I just threw them. Went back home. That's it. I just went home.
Lee, did you make it clear to men that picked you up that you would not have sex with them without money?
Well, I had two guys had sex with me without money once, and I didn't do anything to them. I had my gun with me. And they just never used a weapon on me. They never hurt me. They weren't really physical or anything on me. They just didn't want me to go unless they had sex. But basically, I told them, I don't do it without money.
I have a moment on.
Yeah, there.
Lee, have you ever been convicted of a felony?
Yes, ma'am.
How many times?
One time.
Had you ever had anal sex prior to this time with Richard Mallory?
Never in my life. I always told my clients I don't do anything kinky, anything dirty or nasty. Always decent, clean.
When Mallory started getting violent with you, did you try to calm him down? Did you try to talk to him?
Arlene, rephrase your question.
Did you say anything to Mr. Mallory when he was trying to get violent with you?
I didn't. I couldn't. He was choking me so hard that the blood was running to my head and spots were before my eyes. I couldn't talk. All I could do was I was trying to get the court not to be.
I have nothing further to go.
Ms. Wuornos, you were in the courtroom yesterday when the videotape that was statement about Richard Mallory was played, weren't you?
Yes, sir.
You saw it in its entirety, didn't you?
Yes.
You didn't make one mention of an anal rape or being tied up or having alcohol squirted in your rectum, did you, during that tape?
I told you that he was getting violent, and also I told you before in the first confession that he was talking about anal stealing.
Did you, in fact, did you see anywhere in the videotape, or did you tell Detective Corzeva at any time that you were strangled with cord by Mr. Mallory?
Well, every time I tried to start telling you or him about what was happening, he'd interrupt me and ask me how many times was this person shot? What kind of items did you take? Did he say anything after when you shot him? Where did you leave his car? I never got a chance to ever express myself.
Well,
I was always interrupted.
So you say that the reason you didn't say this is to be interrupted.
Pardon?
You just were cut off. You didn't have a chance to tell it.
Exactly.
Before Detective Corzeva began the interview with you, he said he wanted you to tell him all the facts and circumstances surrounding the Mallory killing, didn't he?
I don't even recall him saying that.
You don't recall him saying that?
No.
Well, what did you think your purpose was when you were sitting there telling him about the Mallory case?
My main purpose was there to confess about Tyra's innocence, and that was all. I didn't have any, I couldn't, there was no way that I could have even remembered. I was hysterical, under shock, and they had forced me to talk, saying that they're going to arrest Tyra Moore if I don't answer their questions on the case, which I didn't want. I was only there to confess about Tyra's innocence because I just got done talking to her on the phone and told her I was going to confess to clear her. I didn't know I was going to have to talk about anything because of that. If I did, believe me, I couldn't remember nothing because I was totally out of it.
Oh, well, it wasn't because the detective cut you off, and now you're saying it's because you were totally out of it. Which was it?
Because they cut me off and because I couldn't remember.
Oh, it's because you couldn't remember.
I couldn't remember at all. A lot of things I couldn't remember. I mean, I wouldn't be able to get completely like I just said today.
I mean, you can remember being anally raped, and you've been anally raped, couldn't you?
I wasn't even interested in telling them certain things because I was interested in Tyra Moore, and I was mad that they have threatened me that if I don't talk to them, they were going to arrest Tyra Moore. So I was pretty well belligerent and stubborn as well as just saying, well, I'm just here to confess about Tyra. I'm not here to confess about the murders because I just try to clear you that there's not two women, there's one woman.
All right, now, as I understand it, you didn't tell us the anal rape and the alcohol. Let me finish. You didn't understand about the anal rape and the alcohol. You didn't talk about that in the tying up because the detective cut you off.
That's right.
Or you didn't tell them because you forgot about it. Or you didn't tell them because you
There's
didn't
no
tell them.
or.
Well, that's two of the
It's
reasons.
all together.
The third reason you gave was now because you were just there to talk about Time Moore and you were stubborn.
There was a lot of reasons.
Well, how about the rest
The
of it?
reasons are, I'm there to confess that Tyra Moore is innocent, which was she knows pretty much, which was a flat out lie because I loved her so much I was protecting her.
Well, are you lying to protect her today?
Oh, I'll be more than happy to explain that Tyra Moore knows more than she's saying and that she knows it's self-defense.
Are you lying to protect her today?
No, I'm not. I will tell you all about Tyra Moore.
All right, you said, and be sure we have the reasons correct. You said you didn't tell the detective because he cut you off and you didn't have a chance. And or you didn't tell the detective because you couldn't remember it. And or you didn't tell the detective because you're stubborn and you're protecting.
I couldn't remember.
You finished the question, Ms. Wuornos. And you didn't tell the detective because you were stubborn and trying to protect Tyra Moore. Were there any other reasons you didn't tell the detective?
I couldn't remember because I was in a state of shock of Tyra, thinking about Tyra. I just told you over and over and over and over again, I'm only here to confess for Tyra. I'm only here to confess for Tyra. And I was totally focused on Tyra. When they asked me a question, when I started to get in the nitty-gritty to explain what happened, they always cut me off and asked me then other questions like how many times was he shot, what kind of items did you take, and when I was starting to get where my memory was going, okay, even if I tried, but then I wasn't really in the mood to talk about the cases, so that's why I couldn't remember, because I was thinking about Tyra, and I was mad that they had forced me into talking about the cases when I only wanted to talk to them about Tyra Jolene Moore.
All right, now you say they forced you to talk about it?
Yes, they did.
All right, let me ask you this. On the tape, and according to Detective Forsyth's testimony, he advised you fully of your rights before you made any statements at all.
Yeah, and I walked in there, and he talked to me 15 minutes before the tape was put on and the video was put on.
All right, and
It was not on at all. Nothing was. He had to turn the tape on. He had to go and turn the video on. Nothing was on when I talked to him. That is when they threatened me.
They threatened.
Yes, they did.
Now, let me ask you this. You were fully advised of your rights and knew you didn't have to make any statement at all, did you?
When I walked in there, they said, I told them I'm here to confess, but I want to just really tell you about Tyra. And I was telling them I'm just here to talk about Tyra. He said, well, that's not going to do any good, because you're just here to talk about Tyra and not about the cases. I've got Jolene Moore in custody right now, and I will have her here at the Volusia County Branch Jail, and I will have her indicted for first-degree murder as well as you. And we believe you are the suspects in this case.
And she was a suspect, wasn't she?
Yes, and I was pretty amazed that she became under protective custody when the police officers arrived in Pennsylvania. That she's under protective custody suddenly when she's a suspect.
And in fact, she's a suspect because you brought the automobiles of the men you killed to your dwelling and had her either ride it or drive it, didn't you?
She drove it.
Drove several of them, didn't she?
Objection, Your Honor. Lee, we advise you on the record, do not talk about other cases. They have not been tried. Other juries will hear those. This is about Mallory.
Your Honor, please, I would object to counsel telling his witness not to answer questions.
I have to say he objects.
In fact, she was a suspect because you and she were riding in an automobile that was wrecked that you had stolen from the man you killed, correct?
Objection,
I'm
Your
not
Honor.
going to answer.
Say he objects.
Your Honor, may we have a brief recess to, I'll get back to that. May I reserve that area for Now, you indicated that it was because of a series of telephone calls with Tyra Moore that you decided to confess.
Outside the scope, Your Honor, I object.
There's no rule.
Is that right?
Say that over again.
Yes. You indicated that because you've been on the telephone with Tyra Moore, you decided to confess. Protect her.
Yes.
In fact, you talked to her on the phone over a 3-day period on 11 different calls, did you not?
Yes.
And isn't it
Calls
true? I'm sorry.
I was going to say calls of the police officer. The police officers urged Tyra to call me to confess.
Sure. You called her each time.
The police officers wrote that note, had her write a note and told them to have her call me. They had it all planned.
But you called her each time, right?
I called her under the direction of the police directing Tyra Jolene Moore.
The police had her set up so they could record your telephone calls, didn't they?
Yeah, they had me set up so that I talked to her about, and her trying to ask me to clear her when Tyra Moore knows more than she's even talking about. I only cleared her because I loved her.
All right, what is it that Tyra Moore knows that
She
she's
wanted
not?
protection.
What is it that Tyra Moore knows that she's not talking about?
Objection to the following question, Your Honor.
No rule.
She believes she knows that it's self-defense, and she is not telling anybody anything.
What else?
It's basically about it. She knows it's self-defense, and she's not saying anything because she's involved in the books and movies, and she's involved in her family, not losing her family. I know her very well. She doesn't want to lose her family, and she's willing to lie for that in order to, and she's also worried about being arrested for accessory to the fact,
All right,
or after the fact.
if it was self-defense, and you really killed Mr. Mallory in self-defense, how would that jeopardize Tyra Moore?
Objection to the form of the question, Your Honor.
Rule.
Because Tyra Moore is interested in making her $500 million and more she's already been offered, and is on a cap waiting for her if I get a conviction.
Well, no, listen, you didn't answer the question. I asked you if in fact it was self-defense, you killed Mr. Mallory because of the things you described, how would that jeopardize, let me finish, how would that jeopardize Tyra Moore?
Because they have to have these people that are involved in books and movies have to have my blood in order to get the money.
Well,
So they're willing to lie for
are you saying it would, I'm asking about jeopardizing Tyra Moore. You said it would jeopardize Tyra Moore if you told a self-defense story. How would that jeopardize her? That was your word.
No, I'm talking about She doesn't want to say it's self-defense because I believe she is involved with millions of dollars, books and movies, and she doesn't want my acquittal because if I get convicted, she gets multi-millions. So does Mr. Horsenpaw, whatever his name is, Munster, and a lot of you other detectives and police officers that are involved in this, and also that her family is really, she's concerned about her family. She loves her family to the max. Her family's rejecting her. That's tearing her up because I know her to the max. And plus, she is, she's claiming she doesn't know anything because she's afraid, accessory to the fact of, because of knowing any incident whatsoever. So she's claiming, she's pretending she doesn't know anything, not even that I told her it's self-defense or an incident that happened. No. My goodness, she's even acting like she doesn't even know how long we were in the Zodiac bar the first night we met. She's acting like she doesn't even know where I lived. She knew where I lived. I was living in the car at the time because I just broke up with Tony. She's acting like she doesn't even know some of the apartments we lived in and stuff. I mean, I got 289 lies in her deposition that she gave. Just flat out lies of just common things. Why is she lying so much? Why does she have to lie about a simple thing?
You said it's because it would jeopardize her in some way. She didn't tell about herself.
I believe that she is lying about a whole lot of things to keep herself from being any accessory to the fact of anything. She is afraid to tell anything, even if she's even afraid to say it's self-defense because then she is knowledgeable about the situation.
Is there anything else that she knew except the self-defense story?
That's the answer, John.
Overruled.
What was I?
Yeah. Is there anything else that you say she knew that would incriminate her except the self-defense story about Mallory?
She just knows it's self-defense, and she just knows a little bit of what happened. Not all, because she'd always tell me, don't tell me the rest because I want to pass a polygraph. If I ever get polygraphed, I'll pass it.
Is that it? You didn't tell her anything else?
I couldn't tell her in detail because I didn't want her to get too involved, but she didn't hear from me. They were self-defense and just a little bit, and saw the bruises, witnessed the bruises, and all. Asked me a little bit about this situation, which I'm not familiar with.
You gave your statement to Detective Zeba. You told him that she didn't know anything, did you?
I was covering for her totally.
My question is, didn't you tell him she didn't know anything about it?
I was covering for her totally.
You lied to him, didn't you?
Yes.
And you also told him that you kind of got to drinking, and then you just casually mentioned that you'd been drinking and you'd been in the woods with your bicycle and you saw a body in the woods, and that's what you told her. Isn't that what you told her?
That happened 14 days after. That happened 14 days after this.
Your Honor, please may the witness be instructed to first answer yes or no. Yes, Your Honor. I would object to her giving a narrative to every question. Many of these call for a yes or no, and then she can explain after she gives her answer.
Right. Go ahead.
In fact, did he tell the detectives, and it's on the videotape, that
Objection to the statements on the videotape,
didn't you tell the detectives during the tape statement that you told her after you got to drinking that you just found a man in the woods body, right?
Yes.
And you told him that she made some remark to the extent you're shitting me, right?
Yes.
And she didn't believe you, did she?
It happened 14 days later. On the news, she saw it, and I knew she was going to see the car because she saw the car the first day. It was on the news, the vehicle with the gator tag in the front. I knew she was going to recognize it, so I told her that 14 days after. So I told her that 14 days after. So I told her about the bicycle jazz 14 days after. So she could prepare, because I was going to prepare her to tell her what happened.
Because you knew that was coming. You saw that on the television. You knew she was going to pick it up.
Yes, I did.
And so Then you told her that there was this dead guy in the woods that you just need to cross, right?
Asked and answered, Your Honor. Objection.
Overruled.
Right?
Yes, I told her.
But you didn't tell her that you killed him, did you?
Yes, I did.
Oh, when did you tell her that?
The 14th day after he was on TV.
But first you just said you found the body, then you drank a little more and you said you killed him, right?
What?
You began the story when you were drinking that night when it came out on television. First you said you found the body, and then you told her you killed him.
Objection to story.
Overruled.
First you said I found the body, and then I told him I killed him.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, because I wanted to prepare her, like, how she would react.
And she
started getting reacting.
And she got right upset, didn't she?
At first she didn't believe me.
Did there ever come a time she believed you?
Yes, after I started telling her, this guy attacked me, I'm trying to tell you, I wanted to prepare you because I've got to tell you, that day that you saw those bruises on my neck and everything, the day we moved with that car, that was Richard Mallory, and he had raped me really bad.
Oh, so you didn't even tell her this rape story till 2 weeks after it happened?
I was scared too because I didn't want her to worry and get scared. She loved me really bad, and I loved her very bad, and I didn't want to just sit there and tell her what happened. It's just...
And then you say that you told her all these details about the alcohol and the anal rape and the tying up and all that?
No, I didn't tell her all the details. I told her I was raped. I told her I was raped, and she asked a few questions, and I told her, I started to get into details. She said, don't tell me no more. Don't tell me no more. I don't want to know no more. She was really pissed off. She was really mad at Mallory for what he done, and she was just really mad.
Now, how close were you to time?
Very close. Tight as a knot. 2 peas in a pod. We were right arm, left arm glued together. I mean, we were tight. We loved each other very much.
Trusted each other?
Yeah.
What broke you up?
Pardon?
What broke you up? What broke up the relationship?
When we saw the sketch on the TV, I told her, you're going to have to go to your parents' house. You're going to have to just leave me. And we made arrangements for her to take a bus. And she told her parents and got ready to go up north.
What sketch on TV are you talking?
Objection, Your Honor.
Overruled.
The sketch of the 2 girls.
Sketches that are in evidence here in this case?
Yes.
Why did that cause you to break up?
Because too many people knew that Tyra wore a baseball cap, I wore a baseball cap, and that we were always together, and the looks of that sketch fit our features.
And so now she's a suspect in murder.
Yes.
Because you and she have been riding in a murdered man's car.
Objection, Your Honor. Don't answer that question.
I'm not going to. I'm advice of my attorneys. I'm not going to answer that question.
Are you not going to answer any questions about the other 6 murders?
I will state it to Ms. Wuornos' attorney and so on, Mr. Miller and Ms. Jenkins, that on our advice, she will not answer those questions on our advice because those cases have not been tried. Other juries will.
Your Honor, I would excuse me. Mr. Nelson, I didn't cut you off with it.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor. During the 3 days of telephone calls while you were in the jail and you were talking to Tyra Moore, you called her each time, correct?
I had to. She couldn't call me.
Okay. And to your knowledge, those telephone conversations are all recorded by the police.
I asked her over and over if she being recorded.
Well, you suspected you were being recorded, didn't you?
No, but I asked her to see if she'd tell me she was or something, because I know Tyra. She might say yes, and tell me the truth, but now I've realized that Tyra sure can conceal herself and lie. I never knew she had a black heart like she does, because right now she can help me out if she'd just be honest.
What is it you want her to say about these murders?
What?
Objection, Your Honor. Lee, do not answer the floor. Take away the yes, Your Honor, and we'll withdraw the advice.
Go ahead, Mr.
During those telephone conversations, did not even one single time in 3 days with 11 calls say you've been raped, did you?
I was totally concentrating on her and what she's doing up north, and then when she told me that the police are around, I was totally concentrating on how I've got to cover for her. I never even thought about that.
All right, what were you covering for her? What was it you were trying to cover for her?
That to be a suspect.
Well, she hadn't done anything, had she?
Objection, Your Honor. Ask and answer.
She's accessory. She knows what happened.
Just knowing? Just participating anyway?
No,
Objection, Your Honor. Ask and answer.
Overruled.
she knows that I was raped. Not in detail, but she knows I was raped and I defended myself.
And you say she knows that because you told her 14 days after it happened. Right?
And yes.
Okay. But you didn't mention it one time during the 3 days of phone calls, did you?
Objection, Your Honor. Ask the answer.
Like I said, I wasn't concentrating on any of the self-defense or anything. I was concentrating on when I get in there and confess that she's not involved in a murder, that just solely I am the person that's involved. She is not. I've got to clear her that they got the wrong person they're looking for.
Does that mean that during those 3 days phone calls you did not even one time mention rape?
We didn't even hardly talk about it. We talked about other things.
Does that mean that you
For
never?
family and stuff.
Does that mean that you never mentioned the rape during the 3 days of phone calls?
That's right.
Okay.
So it was never brought up.
In fact, it was never brought up until months after you were arrested, correct? It wasn't brought up with Detective Forsyth, was it?
It sure wasn't, because he didn't give me a chance to say it. He always cut me off.
Or you
And
forgot.
every one of those
Or you
crimes,
forgot.
he cut
The
me
witness
off.
can answer to it.
Answer the question.
He cut me off. He cut me off every time I talked about a rape with any incident.
Oh, did you talk about rapes with other incidents?
Objection,
I'm
Your Honor.
not going to answer.
Object, Lee, do not answer about other cases. They have not been tried yet.
Your Honor, excuse me,
We have that effect, Your Honor.
no, sir, just let it, and I'm gonna get on this, Mr. Noah to refrain from, handling this witness, Ms. Jenkins, is the one that handled her.
And Your Honor, to allow her to answer part of the question and then not allow me to finish the question, tying my hands behind my back.
That's all right. Ms. Jenkins, do you have an objection?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
All right, you have to sit down. You may proceed, Mr. Jenkins.
In fact, during the 3 days of phone calls, more than 65 times you said there was either mistaken identity or and that Ty was innocent, correct? Over and over again.
Because in the later portions of the phone, when I kept asking her about if anybody's recorded, I felt just in case she is lying to me, I'm going to not express anything on that phone that would put her in jeopardy.
Or put you in jeopardy.
Right.
You're also looking to protect yourself, aren't you?
Yep.
And that's why over 25 times you said it was a mistaken identity. You said that over and over again, didn't you?
I only said it twice,
Only said it was a mistaken identity twice.
I think. I don't remember the phone calls, everything that we said.
Well, could have been more than 25.
I can't remember every word that was said.
Could have been more than 25.
More than 25?
Yes. Like 8.
If you counted them, I don't know. I don't think so, as far as I'm concerned.
How about more than 20?
No?
More than 10?
I don't know. I thought a couple times I said it.
Okay. All right, and more than 25 times on the telephone, you suggested that she lied for you, didn't you?
No, I don't recall any part. I told her to please go and tell him the truth, which I thought she would go and tell him self-defense.
Oh, did you say don't mention me? Tell the truth, but don't mention me. Did you say that over and over again?
I don't recall that. I don't know.
You don't recall asking or suggesting that she
If
lied?
I did, then I said next that, I don't know, it's a very confusing situation. It's a very intense, scary, shocking moment. A lot of things are mixed and mashed. You just don't think properly. You don't think.
What was shocking about casual phone calls on the telephone to your
What
best
do you
friend?
mean casual? They started getting where she's talking about her family is being interrogated by police officers.
Now, you talk about drinking beer and how you couldn't wait to get out, things like that too, didn't you?
Yes, but I couldn't tell you what day, when, where, first, second, third time.
Told her how much you loved her and missed her and things
Yes.
like that. These weren't shocking phone calls, were
That
they?
was the beginning. That was the beginning. We were talking about how much I loved her and stuff. Yes, I missed her. That was the beginning. The shocking phone calls come at the end.
And you suspected the police were listening there towards the end, didn't you?
I didn't know. I didn't know if I could believe her or not. So I tried to keep calm on the phone on certain things.
Well, wouldn't it have been an ideal time under this calm circumstance to say, well, you know I had to do it. Let me finish the question. You know I had to do it because I was raised so brutally and had to defend myself. Wouldn't that have been something to say for the police to hear?
I didn't want her to be accessory to the fact.
Be an accessory to
Constantly thought accessory to the fact that she could be charged because she knew about an incident that even lingered for a year before anything was known about it.
That's the first thing you told the police, wasn't it? That she knew about the killing, but she didn't really believe you?
Because at first she didn't believe me.
In other words, almost the first thing out of your mouth that she's innocent.
Oh yes, I'm lying there though. I'm telling him that she didn't believe me, but I'm covering for her because I don't want her. I'm doing the same thing she's doing, pretending that she knows nothing. And she knows it's self-defense. She knows I was raped.
Maybe you're doing the same thing then that you are now, would you say?
I'm not lying at all. I'm up here telling the truth. I think I'm the only one who's telling the truth between my lawyers and me. Especially when I've learned about all this book and movie greed.
All right, let's talk about that. You've talked to so many people about this, haven't you?
I did? Jackie Drew? We have a lawsuit going on her. We are filing a lawsuit. Major.
Movie producer type person. You talk about if any money was to be made out of this, you'd like Lee to have it, didn't you?
Lee?
I'm sorry. Ty to have it, didn't you?
No, because if I said anything to her in a letter, which I can't understand how I could have wrote her while I was in jail, because as soon as I got done talking to the detectives, they stuck me in solitary confinement lockdown, shoving pills down me and got me messed up on drugs forcingly. And I didn't have any pen or pencil or paper to write, and you people are saying that those letters came in January in jail, and I don't remember writing any letters whatsoever.
Who was this that was forcing drugs down you?
They had me on Visceral. They had me where I didn't have I didn't have any commissary, not even a Bible, a book, nothing to read, 24/7 in a square little room with nothing to do but come up and say, do you want your pills so they help you go to sleep? And of course I took them to sleep, and I got hooked on Visceral. I was taking 2,800 milligrams a week, 16 pills a day. 400 milligrams a day, 16 pills a day, almost killed me. They almost killed me.
You said what the detectives said they knew that, was it?
It was a detective's idea. Because
how do you know that?
I sure didn't ask for it. I didn't ask to be put in medical lockup. As soon as I got done with the cops, they shuffled me over there and did that to me.
You're saying the detective or SAFA was forcing you to take pills?
It was a plan, I believe.
This was after you made your tape statement, right? Right?
Yes.
Okay. You
Just like
weren't on pills when you made your tape statement, were you?
No, but I was coming off of alcohol. I was really still shaking and pretty well withdrawing from alcohol. Heavy drinking.
Did you see the videotape of yourself?
No, I've only seen that.
You only saw that part?
Mm-hmm.
The short part?
Mm-hmm. I've never seen the whole video.
Did you see any evidence of yourself shaking? Weren't you lighting cigarettes and smoking and being casual?
If you guys think I was, I wasn't. I was very, very nervous and just trying to keep it together as much as I could, but I was shaking everything. And that's why he gave me his jacket, because I was just shaking like a leaf and it was cold in there, which made it worse.
Well, how many times during these 11 phone calls in 3 days did you even say that you were a victim and tried to rob you? Or that anyone had tried to rob you?
Your Honor, objection has been answered several times.
Now, what's that question again?
You never once even said that your victim tried to rob you.
Objection, Your Honor, the term your victim.
Rephrase your words.
You never once said that Mr. Mallory tried to rob you on the telephone, did you?
Why should I? We weren't talking about Mallory. We weren't talking about any incidences. All we were talking about, all I was thinking about, was to clear Ty from being that suspect of the sketches on that TV.
Well, what were you thinking about when you were talking about his mistaken identity?
The sketches. In case the tape was rolling, if there were some police officers there, I was protecting her over the phone.
You even said that you were going to sue law enforcement if you got arrested for this, did you? Or sue the county?
Who knows? I was withdrawing from alcohol so bad, I was so confused and so scared about Tyra that I couldn't function properly. I don't know what I was saying. I don't know. I was totally I was in Pluto. Scared out of my wits. Caring about Tyra, loved her to the max. I must have told her 25 times a day, I love you.
You said that you were supporting Tyra more. She really wasn't working. Is that what you've been telling the jury?
I've supported her for 3.5 years. The last year she worked. But she made such little money, I had to still work.
Well, didn't you continue to tell detectives that she worked all the time?
No, she didn't work. I meant she worked all the time at Casa Del Mar. It's directly talking about Casa Del Mar when I say that.
And you also say all she does is go to work, come home, and then go back and go to work?
That's Casa Del Mar. That's Casa Del Mar.
And when you spoke to Detective Corsava and told him what you had told Ty, what you told him was that you told her you found a body But you're just bullshitting her, in your words, because you were real drunk. Remember saying that?
What I meant was I was saying that there's a lot of times I'd be drunk and I would just bullshit with her. Oh, but that's when I was lying about her, yeah. Trying to make her sound like she didn't know anything. Yeah, okay, I got you. I know what you're talking about. I can't remember what those confessions say either, so.
Hard to keep the story straight, isn't it?
Objection, Your Honor, badgering.
Hard to keep the story straight, isn't it?
No, it's hard to remember what you're talking about. Because I'll tell you right, when you just asked me that question, I don't know what you were talking about as far as what it was about. Like, was I talking on the phone? I didn't know you were reading out of the confession.
Now, the reason you were a prostitute is because you made really good money at it, right?
Yes.
In fact, the indication was that you went out and sold yourself 6 or 7 days each week.
I went out anywhere from 4 to 7. It varied. There's times I only went out 3 days a week, but it varied. But basically, I went out 4 to 7. I mean, because there's very few times I went out 3 times a week. Mostly, I went out 4 to 7 times a week. Yes.
And you had sex with 3 to 8 guys each time.
Yeah, because it varies. You never know how many you're going to have. You just keep hustling till the day's through.
And you were charging how much per sex act?
30 per head, 35 straight, 40 for half a head, 100 an hour.
You make anywhere between $600 and $1,000 a week.
Well, you're right, and that's where all the money went in bars with Tara.
You're
Fancy clothes and beer drinking.
You're capable of holding other jobs, aren't you? You've done other work.
I don't have the qualifications for the jobs. I've always been fired, and I've never been able to hold a job. The only thing I know how to do is prostitution. Well, it's the only thing I know how to do.
Well, you get paid more doing that than anything else you've ever done, don't you?
It's good money, but it's also the only thing I really know how to do.
Well, you also
Done it all my life.
You also like it, don't you? You like it.
Well, I like the sex, and I like some of the clients I meet become like my brothers, but it's a job. That's just part of being a prostitute.
Right, but it was kind of a rolling road party, wasn't it?
Your Honor, object. Relevant states also addressing character.
No, because you have to watch yourself and be careful, and you've got to, keep a level head on your shoulders. It's a job. It's not exciting, like super exciting. You have to keep a good head on your shoulders and just do your job and hope you don't, run into jerks and stuff.
Well, do you like the sex and you like the money?
Yes, I like the sex and I like the money.
And you like the contact with the different men?
Mm-hmm.
And then there came a time that you decided to arm yourself, start carrying a pistol, correct?
Yes.
And you said there was a reason for that. Tell us again, if you would, the reason you felt
Plainly
necessary to carry a
protection.
pistol. I'm sorry.
I carried it plainly for protection.
All right, you said that over a period of time, and he had tried to rape you or rape you.
I've been raped many times. And it never worked when I had weapons of other weapons. I never could defend myself. So I finally got a gun. where it would be defense.
Well, how many times during the 4.5 years you lived with Ty Moore did you have to defend yourself?
I was raped 3 times, and there was 2 other instances where I had a gun, but I didn't use it. They just had their fun. They were young guys. I didn't need to hurt them because they didn't use any weapons on me or anything. And the other 3, I had 2 gas guns and a bullfighter. I got raped and beat up royal on those.
So you say there were 5 times you had to defend yourself with weapons while you were being raped, but didn't have to use a gun?
Yeah, and the 2 guys that were, one looked like about 22 and the other 27, that's when I had the gun just before Mallory.
Were there any times that you didn't use a gun to defend yourself from rape?
Objection, Your Honor. Same objection. Don't answer the question.
In the scope of the cross, Your Honor.
I think she can answer that question.
Yes, before.
Right. Before.
State, what?
Well, the question, and I'll maybe try to make sure that's clear. How many times during the 4.5 years you were living with Ty Moore did you have to use a gun on someone to defend yourself?
Objection, same grounds. Yes, before Mallory, we have no objection. Please don't answer the question.
Rephrase your question.
How many times before you killed Mr. Mallory while living with Ty Moore did you have to shoot someone to defend yourself from rape?
I couldn't. I didn't have a vehicle. I didn't have a pistol, a weapon.
But if you had, you'd used it earlier.
I tried with Mason and I've got beat up and raped. It didn't work.
So if you had a gun those other times you shot him in.
Ask and answer, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Yes, answer that.
Yes, you so ruled. Go ahead.
Well, in the advice of my attorneys, I'm not going to answer that question.
So she hasn't instructed you not to answer that. Was you shot men before that and had a gun earlier?
Well, I'll just answer it like this. Every situation is totally different. I couldn't answer that question.
All right, well, how about just the 5 men you said that raped you before Mallory? Would you have shot them?
I don't know. I don't know. Every incident is totally different.
Well, I guess the question
If it's very violent and physical, I'm going to defend myself. Yes, everybody has a right to defend themselves. That's what I did. These were violent rapes, and the other ones I had to beg for my life. I had a double barrel shotgun against my head. I had a .357 Magnum against my head.
When was that?
In the rapes.
Wasn't any of these others?
The rape.
Wasn't any that you killed them?
Objection, Your Honor.
You did.
Answer the question.
Did you ever kill anyone that had threatened you with a .357 Magnum or a sawed-off or a shotgun to your head?
I couldn't. I didn't.
Objection, Your Honor. As long as he focuses it on before Mallory, I have no objection. If he doesn't leave, don't answer the question.
Rephrase the question.
Did you ever kill anyone to threaten you with a .357 Magnum?
Same objection, Your Honor.
For this time.
Did you ever kill anyone before you killed Mr. Mallory that threatened you with a .357 Magnum?
No. I didn't have a gun on me. And I didn't, bullfighter and the gas gun, they always got from me and put the weapons on me, making me beg for my life.
Did anyone after you killed Mr. Mallory ever threaten you with a .357 Magnum?
Anybody,
Objection, Your Honor. Same objection.
anyone after?
Don't answer the question.
Your Honor, that has nothing to do with the 6 murders.
Objection, Your Honor. We move for mistrial.
Did you ever kill anyone before you killed Mr. Mallory and threatened you with a shotgun?
How could I? He had the shotgun on me.
Is your answer no?
No, yes.
Did you ever, and there may be an objection, so wait until your counsel has an opportunity, did you ever kill anyone after you killed Mr. Mallory that threatened you with a shotgun?
Objection, Your Honor, same grounds. Lee, don't answer the question. Your Honor, may we have the hearing outside the presence of the jury? May I reserve argument, Your Honor? Thank you.
Now, you knew it was a crime to prostitute, didn't you?
3 million other women do it too. It's an everyday thing. It's been going on for centuries. And I wasn't doing anything out there wrong or mean to anybody. What they did was mean to me. I was very kind, very nice, had a very ladylike attitude. I didn't do anything wrong to them. I didn't even hardly swear. I talked about religion and politics and even talked about trying to save the Lord with some of them. I mean, I talked about Jesus coming soon. And I was very kind. There was no reason to attack me.
You said what they did was mean to you?
What they did to me was violent and mean.
Who are you talking about?
We're here on Richard Mallory, and I'm talking about Richard Mallory right now.
You said they.
I'm not going any further into this.
I would advise you not to reach that.
I would ask her to go further, Judge. She brought it up. Same to you, next. So you think it's okay to violate the law if a lot of other people do it?
Everybody does.
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
Everybody prostitutes, even housewives, and so do the men. They're out there. They're the ones with the money, putting it on the hook, saying to us prostitutes, here we are. If they would keep their money in their back pockets, their penis in their pants, they wouldn't be feeding prostitution. They're the ones that feed it. We're just out there making our money.
Kind of like a friendly drug dealer.
Objection, Your Honor.
There was no harm in it. It was like a date.
I move for curative, Your Honor.
If I walk in a bar,
Yes, Your Honor. Okay.
if I walk in,
For a mistrial. Thank you.
if I walk in a bar and I meet a guy, which I never worked at bars, truck stops, CBs, rest areas, street walk, nothing of that. I just strictly hitchhiked prostitution. Now, if I walked in a bar though, and there was a guy there that I wanted to go to bed with, and we go to bed without money, that's just, and to me, that's just like prostitution and adulterous right there too. But here, let's say we go to bed and he offers me money. That's just, and we don't hurt each other. What's the difference? What's the difference? We've agreed upon sex with each other. Only thing is, he's giving me a little money to help me, and I'm helping him. It's just, what's the difference? It's like friendship. Here's a loan even. I mean, it's just plain friendship. There's nothing wrong with it. We're not hurting anybody. We weren't hurting anybody. They're hurting us.
So you think you have a right to disregard the law if you disagree with it?
Well, I'll tell you, it's the only thing I could do anyway. That was my job. I wasn't hurting anybody out there.
Well, that's not true, is it?
I wasn't hurting anybody out there. I'm the victim, as far as I'm concerned. He had no reason to rape me. He had no reason to do what he did to me. I didn't provoke him in any way.
You didn't hurt anyone out there, is what you said. Is that correct?
Never. They hurt me.
Who hurt you? Who's
I'm
that?
talking about the earlier rapes and everything. I didn't have a gun. I couldn't defend myself. If I tried to defend myself, I came close to death so many times. I had to beg for my life. I had to carry a gun for protection. It's the only thing I knew what to do. As far as work, I've done it all my life, and it's the only thing I could do. But now the years are getting further into a very high-rise crime.
I didn't ask you a question. I'll ask you one just more.
Further into other incidences. I'm only here for the Richard Mallory case.
Well, I'm only trying to ask you why you killed 6 other men. Was it the same reason?
I'm here for one trial. I'm here for first-degree murder, 1 count in this county.
Your Honor, I ask that you instruct the jury and Lee, I would ask you my answer.
Isn't it a fact that you had a pattern of hitchhiking the highways and selecting middle-aged men above 35, 37, on up into their 60s?
No. I dated guys from anywhere from 28 and up. And in my confession, if it says older, I just, like I say, I wasn't in my right mind where I could stop and rationalize to think what some of the things I wanted to say, because my mind was doing 100 things and 100.
And isn't it true that you generally contacted these men along the major thoroughfares and interstate highways of the state of Florida?
Pardon?
You generally contacted these men on the interstate highways or the major highways of the state?
I hitchhiked and prostitute. That's what I did.
Primarily out of
Hitchhiked and prostitute.
Primarily out of the Daytona Beach area, the Central Florida area.
I worked the whole Florida state. I-10, I-95, I-75, I-27, 50, 41, 44, anywhere. A whole Florida state.
And it was your pattern, was it not to tell them that you were a prostitute so that you could make money?
No, because a lot of times I got in a car and they asked me if I was dating. If I'd want to date. They propositioned me many a times. A lot of the guys pulled over was strictly for sex. It wasn't like giving a girl a ride to the next exit. It was strictly to pick me up for a date. They knew I was out here for a date. I'm sure every other girl that's hitchhiking out there gets propositioned by a guy. As soon as they get picked up, I bet you they get propositioned by a guy. Because most of the times I didn't have to ask them, they asked me.
Well, you heard Bobby Douglas talk about you asking him.
He did pick me up. I don't even know him. And I think furthermore, that Jackie Giroux knows him, that he called her up about something about a movie. And he is full-facedly lying up here just to get some media attention, because I've never seen the man in my life. I wouldn't, plus I don't go to truck stops. And I don't ride with truckers.
You deny that you went over to him and asked for a ride saying you need to get back to your children, where your sister was?
You guess what? My sister, I haven't called her for 10 minutes, 1986. I haven't seen her since 1976.
I'm not suggesting you told the truth. I'm asking, is that what you told him?
No, I didn't see the man. I don't know who he is. I never seen him. I didn't tell him nothing because I've never been in his car. I don't know him. I've never seen him. Plus, I don't think I deal with somebody that fat anyway. He was too big of a guy, and I don't deal in truck stops.
Oh, you're not the one that hollered after him?
He's too big of a guy. I wouldn't have trusted being with him.
You're not the one that you hollered after him? Fat old son of a bitch, I'll kill you too, like I did the others?
Yeah, I did not. He never picked me up. I never, especially at truck stops. I don't work truck stops. I don't walk in truck stops. I think truckers are too dirty.
But your testimony is then he is lying, right?
He's lying. Yes, he is.
And you say because he wants to make money in the movie or something?
I'll tell you how much I think he's lying. He says I had a purse. The police officers got my purse, the brown one. My gun does not fit that purse. You can check it.
You generally carried your gun in a little bag, didn't you?
I carried my gun in a tote bag. He says a purse.
You even practiced with that
purse.
You even practiced with that. See how fast you get it out, kind of a quick draw practice.
Oh yes, I doubt that. No, no, never, never happened.
You ever tell anyone that?
What do you mean? It never even happened. I never did that in my life.
Never.
When I get home, I'm too tired. I just set the bag down or in the closet and go to sleep.
You never practiced getting it out fast so you shoot fast.
No, of course not. And I think you made that up royal.
You know Dr. McMahon?
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
No, objection overruled.
You know Dr. McMahon?
Yes.
Your Honor, I believe you ruled on this prior to the question.
But I don't know about the question, is you better rule it today.
Do you know it's against the law to carry concealed firearms, don't you?
Yes,
And
but I took that risk because I had to use protection.
you also.
And also,
Pardon me?
if I wasn't a convicted felon, I would have bought a gun and carried it. But since the law won't let us felons, once we get out of prison, protect ourselves with a weapon, they just say, go ahead and get killed, we don't care. We have to just go, forget the law and carry it anyway. Because there's a lot of people that have been going, convicted felons, coming out of prison, and they're just as decent people as can be, yet you say we can't carry a weapon. We've got to protect ourselves. There has to be a way to protect ourselves. We can't use our hands.
You're even a victim of the law.
Objection, Your Honor.
You're even a victim of the law.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, you just said because of the law.
Oh. We can't use our hands, is what I'm saying. We have to have a weapon. Are you trying to tell us us convicted felons cannot defend ourselves? We have to have a way to defend ourselves.
They think that all convicted felons still have to carry guns.
Objection, Your Honor.
Well,
Is that what you're saying?
say what I didn't hear what you
So
said.
you think convicted felons should be allowed to carry guns?
Because a lot of them do turn into the Lord, and a lot of them are very decent people and very straightforward people. So they broke the law. Everybody breaks the law, and I bet you do too. Every time you drive a car and pollute the earth.
And some of them shoot men to death in cold blood, don't they?
Objection, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Some of them shoot men to death in cold blood, don't they?
No, they don't. I didn't shoot anybody in cold blood. Although I would have been out there decaying instead.
You've never shot anyone in cold blood?
That's right.
Objection, Your Honor.
I don't have the heart to shoot somebody in cold blood.
You ever shoot a man in the back of the head because he's
Objection,
struggling?
Your Honor.
I'm not going to answer that question. It does not affect this case. So, different circumstances to different reasons and circumstances, and I don't need to answer that. It has nothing to do with Richard
Would you
Murphy.
like to answer it?
No, I'm not going to.
Lee, I'm instructing you not to answer any questions about anything other than Richard Mallory. I'm asking you not to talk about it.
Meeting council would like to be
Objection.
Your Honor, do I have permission to talk now that Mr. DeWar has spoken?
No, sir.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay, go back to that.
Thanks, Judge.
Yes.
See.
Go get me some pay.
Now,
Rather than you leave the courtroom, we have someone, Captain Massey, in the hall that can attend to that task. Thank you, Mr. Bennett, Commissioner. See, Captain Massey, we assure that one.
you told this jury when Ms. Jenkins was examining you that Mr. Mallory solicited you for sex?
No. When we got to Quail Run, he asked me how I know so much about married people. He said, I thought you were single. You told me you had a roommate. And I said, well, I guess it's time for me to be honest and tell you that I hustle for a living. That's why I know married people, because 98% of my people are married. That I meet.
You propositioned him then.
He asked me my prices. He said, well, you mean sex? And I said, I laughed, and I said, yes, sex. And he said, well, how much do you charge? And it carried on from there.
You say that was after you got off the interstate?
Yes?
Didn't you tell Deputy Orzepa that after he offered you the drink and you just got past Orlando and your words were getting pretty drunk now and we're continuing going down the road and we're getting drunk for oil? And I asked him but I need some money for rent and everything. He was interested at the time, so we go out and we stop at this place on US 1.
Okay. I was very incoherent when I was saying something. It always was chopped up what was happening because I couldn't remember correctly. Plus, I was thinking of Tyra confessing, but that still means that yes, at Quail Run that happened, not past Orlando. But I'm talking about we've got past Orlando, now we're in Daytona. I'm sure that's how I was thinking. We finally got past Orlando, now we're on US 1, which we were on US 1 at Quail Run. And then we talked about sex and...
Did you agree to take your clothes off? You took your clothes off. And that was usual for you, wasn't it?
I always usually took my clothes off first with any guy, just because, I mean, that is if we're doing sex for an hour. You know, it's not with head or anything, just for an hour.
All right, then according to your first statement to Detective Forzeva, at that time he gave you some money.
He didn't give me any money. I told you guys he didn't give me any money.
No, that's what you said today. You said he didn't give you money, right?
He didn't give me any money. He never gave me any money.
But you told Deputy Forzeva back in January of 91 when you took your taped statement that he gave you the money.
No, and then I recorrected myself later in the pages. You should read on. And also told him it was a different story. And the handbag deal is not even with Richard Mallory. It's a totally different guy. I was getting mixed up. And plus, he kept asking me about somebody else and somebody else and somebody else and switching me around so many times. I was confused on who was who I was thinking of.
Well, here was your statement that you were talking about, Mallory. It's just below you where you talk about proposition on page 5. We get to page 6, the bottom, and you said, so we go to the woods. You say, okay, I want to drink of this stuff, and it's about 5, and I just start making, and so he gives me the money, and I start to disrobe.
And I think...
Pardon me?
And I think if you check on page 9 or something, it states, no, he didn't give me any money.
We'll get there. And he said, now this guy's getting really he's starting to get a little, kissing me and stuff. Anyway, he hasn't disrobed himself at all. That was Mr. Mallory, wasn't it?
Yes, I was thinking about the very last seconds of what happened when he didn't take off his clothes at that moment when I'm speaking.
You still talk about Mr. Mallory on page 7. You said, okay, so anyway, we're in the front seat. He's hugging and kissing on me and all this shit. And so then he starts, pushing me down. And I said, wait a minute, get cool. You don't have to get rough, This is, let's have fun. This is for fun, And he's telling me, well, baby, I've been waiting for this all night long and stuff like that. And that was in the front seat of the car. That was Mallory, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I did not express that correctly. I was totally incoherent, and if you read on, I think it says it's a different story.
We'll get there. And then you go on, and this time you're in the passenger seat, he's the driver's seat, right? Yep.
Now, who's in the passenger seat? Who'd you say?
You're in the passenger seat.
Yes.
And he's in the driver's seat. And he's behind the wheel of the car. Correct? Answer yes or no, please.
Yes. He's behind the wheel of the car, you said? Yes.
Okay. And you say the doors are open. Then you say he's really getting heavy. On me, and stuff. And I'm going like, he's getting where he just wants to just, unzip his pants, not take his pants off or anything. Just start having sex and stuff. Is that Mr. Mallory talking about?
That's it. Very last and when I pulled the cord and everything, he didn't take his clothes off.
Nowhere before that do you mention a cord at all.
I didn't get a chance to. I told you guys about anal story with Mallory in the beginning, and I don't know how it goes, how he questions me. I haven't even been able to read this.
You haven't been able to read the transcript that you
I have read it, but I don't remember what it says. But I just know that I was questioned improperly, where I was totally mixed up I was totally incoherent. I was in shock, hysteria. I was thinking about Ty. I was freaking about her because they said they were going to arrest her. I couldn't remember. I was withdrawing from alcohol royal. I had been on a 7-week royal binge of drinking, or no, not 7, 5-week royal binge of drinking since she left me because I was all bummed out about her leaving me. I was totally gone up here. I did not know what. I did the best of my ability, but plus I didn't know what to say. I knew in my mind I didn't want to talk about it because I couldn't remember. I had blackouts.
But you told in
So I
great,
did the best I could.
you told
the little I could.
excuse me, you told in great detail of the location, geographically, road-wise, and everything else where you were picked up, didn't you?
With who?
With Mr. Mallory.
When?
Well, how many
With
times?
who?
How many times did he pick
Who are
you
you
up?
talking about?
Well, let's talk about all of it if you like.
No. Who are you talking about?
First,
Who do I talk this to? My lawyers or?
yeah, you told in great detail to Mr. Detective Forzetta where Mr. Mallory picked you up.
Oh, yeah, just I-4, I-75.
The whole conversation, how you two got along, and all that sort of.
No, I didn't. I said just I-4, I-75 in Tampa.
And you said you did a lot of talking, and you thought he was a nice guy.
On the way from Tampa to Daytona, yes, we talked a lot.
And then you told me that when he would unzip his pants, you said to him, and well, why don't you just disrobe or something? You know, I mean, why do you have to have your clothes still on?
No, because I didn't know what I was talking about on that one, because I told you it was a different story. I confused myself with other guys. And I'm not going to get into other details of the other cases because they're totally different what happened today.
Yeah.
And I'm not, well, there's a breaking.
What other story are you talking about now? You know?
I don't know. I'm trying to tell you, I was incoherent in those confessions, and I don't know what I'm talking about because all I'm talking about in 25 pages is Claire and Tyra, Jolene Moore.
You're talking about killing me.
Pardon?
You're talking about killing a man in 25 pages.
No.
The only place you talk about Claire and Tyra Moore generally is at the start
No.
of these transcripts.
I said it 37 times I stated Claire, or 17 times I stated Claire and Tyra, and I think it's 37 times, something like that, about confessing only for Tyra. No, confessing only for Tyra 17 times.
Right. You say this is some other person you were talking about that wouldn't unzip his pants. You got mad? You said this is some other person.
Objection, Your Honor, staying in the same area again, same objection, I direct her not to answer the question.
I don't know what it is.
I'm just getting just as confused as when these confessions were being questioned. I don't understand what you're getting at.
I tried to listen to the question. You said that this person who wouldn't unzip his pants to have sex with someone else. Who is that? Who is that other person you're talking about?
What did you read that over? I don't even know what you're talking
That's
about.
not what she said.
It's not what I said in there.
Were you asking Ms. Jacobs or were you answering the question?
Well, apparently, I just heard, it's too late now, that that's not what it says in there. You're just making up something.
No, she said that wasn't what she said.
Oh,
You think I'm making up something here?
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about because I don't know what you're reading.
Here's what I asked you.
What page?
Page 7
Okay. On Mallory.
on Mallory, and you said now like he's getting to where he just wants to, unzip his pants, not take his pants off or anything. He starts having sex and stuff. And I said, well, why don't you just disrobe or something, why do you have your clothes still on?
Okay. It must be when I first asked him to disrobe. See, I'm mixed up. I'm mixed up totally. I asked him to disrobe because it was getting cold in the car. I said, why don't you undress so let's get started. It's cold in here. So I know that's what part I'm talking about there.
All right, he said that's where just before that you said he's kissing on you and getting heavy. Is that what you're talking about?
Then that's what I'm saying. I was totally mentally blocked. Totally. I had blackouts completely about that night, what happened exactly. And I'm just choppy as can be.
Well, when you
So
said
what?
you're in the front seat, he's kissing, you talked about kissing, right?
Richard Mallory never even kissed and hugged me. He did that one after he was raping me.
So So when you told him,
And if I said he's getting heavy on me, kissing and hugging me, that's rape. Heavy means rape.
although you've offered to have sex, you're laying there naked on your back.
Objection, Your Honor.
You've offered to have sex, you're laying there naked on your back, and the man pays you, and you say it's rape when he's kissing and getting on
He
you?
didn't pay me, and I don't know what you're talking about. He didn't pay me. He's not kissing me because for regular sex. He raped me. This is when he gets heavy, and I don't know what you're talking about.
And then he went on to say, they started getting violent, then he started getting violent with me, and we're fighting a little bit. You know what you said?
Well, the way I talk, it's like, well, we were fighting a little bit, and, that's the way I talk.
But you expanded upon that today, you tell the story of being tied up and raped.
Well, we did fight a little bit. It wasn't a whole lot of fighting when I grabbed his arms at the very end, and he slapped me in the face. It didn't last 5 minutes. It lasted half a minute at the most,
And
maybe.
you go on with a fight on which you said, and I had my purse right there on the passenger floor. And you said, no, it wasn't about the purse, it was a blue bag.
That's right. We carried a tote bag.
Good. Then the brown purse you had with Bobby Coates.
I did. Yeah, why don't you check that gun and see if it fits? Because I'm telling you it doesn't. And Bobby Copus doesn't know what he's talking about because Bobby Copus never picked me up.
All right, well, on to the blue bag. You said you had a blue bag and you had it zipped on the side and it was unzipped because you wanted to make sure if anything happened, I could use my gun. Things were starting to happen where I think he was gonna roll me and take my money back. What are you talking about?
Well, probably what I'm thinking is that this guy is going to just rape me, take my money, kill me, whatever, dump me off. I don't know. Maybe he thinks I have $500-600 on me.
So take my money back. You talking about the money that he gave you earlier.
They never gave me any money. No way.
You said, or beat me up or whatever.
When I say take my money back, I'm sure that's just I was too young to get heroin. I wasn't even talking like that. It's just like my expression, the way I was expressing it.
Here's your words. It's why you started grabbing this gun. You said, I think he was going to roll me, take my money back, beat me up.
Instead of saying,
Let me finish. I'm reading your statement. I think he's going to roll me, take my money back, beat me up, or whatever the heck he's going to do.
yeah, doesn't it say this is a different story at the end?
So I jumped out. You say you're not talking about Mallory there? Miss Mallory?
I maybe talk a little bit about him, but then I might be talking about somebody else in it, so that's why I said, wait a minute, this is all messed up.
Well,
It's like I'm trying to tell you.
if this isn't Mr. Mallory, who are you talking about?
Objection, Your Honor, same objection, leave to answer the question.
I couldn't get each.
Don't answer the
Okay.
question.
Mr. Horseva only asked you about Mr. Mallory, didn't he?
He just asked me about Mr. Mallory.
Did Detective Munster ask you about the other?
No, Horsefa questioned me and a couple others.
But in any event, at this point, you've been talking about Mallory according to the questions and the answers you gave that point, correct?
Say that over.
Yes, you were talking about Mallory when you said, so I jumped out of the car with my bag and I grabbed the gun.
No, because I never get out of the car. That's what I'm saying. I was never coherent enough to tell you what actually happened because there was too many blank spots. I had to sit back, put all the pieces together. This person, what happened. I was drunk as could be that night. I had to try to remember, what did happen exactly, precisely, and everything. I couldn't tell you. And if I started to, like I say, every time I messed up and wanted to start over, you guys interrupted me. You talked about Richard Mallory, and then, 11 or 12 pages later, then you come back to Mallory again after you've gone through a whole bunch of jazz about some other stuff. And me confused. And then you talk about, the detective Munster or Horsefa or whatever, would talk about a sausage truck guy, and then ask me about, did you find his wallet?
And
And then he was talking about Richard Mallory.
Excuse me. morning, so I don't have a question for you based upon what you're doing now. Let me just finish this question. He said, I jumped out of the car with my bag and I grabbed the gun. He said, and I said, get out of the car. And he said, what's going on? I said, you son of a bitch. I knew you were going to rape me. He said, no, I wasn't. No, I wasn't.
And why don't you read the rest? It says it's a different story.
Is that what you said? That's what
That's maybe what I said, but it's wrong because it wasn't. I was not coherent, and it is totally about somebody else, which I'm not going to talk about.
Well, how about here? And later on you say, oh, no, that wasn't it. Is that where you corrected?
I don't.
Your Honor, I'm going to object unless he's willing to give her a copy of the transcript. It's impossible for her to recall.
It's serious.
May I approach you with that?
Can I change favors, please?
Yes, sir. Short order,
Page, Counselor.
Okay,
Page 7. Are you with me? He said, get out of the car. That's you speaking. He said, what's going on? And I said, you son of a bitch, I knew you were going to rape me. He said, no, I wasn't. No, I wasn't. And I said, oh, yes, you were. You knew you were going to try to rape me, man. So anyway, I told him, step away from the car. And then he said, oh, no, I didn't. All this is another thing, okay? I know what happened, okay? I jumped out of the car. Now we say I jumped out of the car, you're talking about Mallory, right? Yes.
I got page 7, and I don't see anything you're talking about here.
I'm sorry, page 8 now, start on page 7.
Okay.
You said, oh, no, I didn't. All this is another thing, okay? I know what happened, okay? I jumped out of the car. And that was Mallory you're talking about.
No, because I told you, you were starting to get physically do stuff to me. Oh, this is a different story. God, see it so long ago. And that's why I'm totally incoherent. I can't remember everything. You guys are asking me questions about these incidences that happened. When my mind's focused on Tyra, I only came here to confess. I don't know what I'm doing here talking to you guys about the other things. And I'm like, well, should I even answer these questions? I really don't want to. And I'm also confused anyway when I start talking about them that I get mixed up with different people because you guys keep asking me, okay, it's all right, take your time. And then you say, yeah, okay, I jumped out of the car, I pulled my gun out when he started to physically do shit with me. And now, what type of gun do you have? Now, you don't even let me go on. I mean, they weren't letting me go on. Or nothing, to recorrect myself or anything. They kept... Now he just asked me about, now for the next 11 pages, he's talking about all different guys. White pickup truck, and I say, what white pickup truck? I don't recall a white pickup truck.
Lee, I'm going to instruct you not to talk about any other charges.
All right.
You have cases pending.
You went on to say that on that same page that this was a 9-shot 22 caliber pistol, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And that it was fully loaded?
I usually carry it loaded.
Does this appear to be that pistol? Exhibit 20?
Mm-hmm.
That was your pistol?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes.
That was the pistol you killed Richard Mallory with? Yes?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Pistol that you threw away under Rose Bay Bridge in Volusia County, correct?
Yes.
Nearly a year later, right?
Pardon?
Nearly a year later, you threw it away.
Mm-hmm. You advise the Tyra Jolene Moore?
Now you say Tyra Moore advised you to go to this woman?
Yes, she did.
When did she do that?
The very last stages of our relationship. I told her I was going to go ahead and quit hustling, and she said just throw the gun away in the river or something.
At that time, did she know that you had killed Seven anyway?
Your Honor, objection, same grounds, Lee, don't answer that question.
At that time, did she know you had killed Richard Mallory with?
Yes, because she knew it was self-defense. I told her 14 days later about the bruises and everything, and I told her what happened, and she knows it's self-defense.
Was there any other reason that you know of she told you to throw it away?
No, because she used to tell me, do you got your gun? Do you have your rubbers? Make sure that you clean the vehicles out very good. If you ever run into an incident like that again, don't let anybody hurt you, honey. You've been violently raped, and I don't never want to see anybody do anything like that to you again.
Did you ever tell her about any violent rapes after Mallory or attempted?
Objection, Your Honor, same grounds, Lee, don't answer the question.
Now, you'd only had that gun for maybe a couple of months at most, or maybe short as a couple of days, right?
I've had it for at least ever since Rutland, which I don't know. Somebody has to check up and see. When I lived in Rutland, before Ocean Camp Village Campground, that's when I got the gun.
Was there a record where you purchased it?
When I
Objection, Your Honor.
That's approach.
Approach.
I'm not going to answer it.
I think we need to.
But if you're not going to answer it, we don't need to do anything. Respectfully, Your Honor.
Yes.
Well, on page 9 of your transcript of your deposition, you first say that they asked you how long you had it, months, years. You said, I don't know, it might have been about maybe a couple of months ago. And then Detective Morzave said, okay, you had the gun quite a long time. You again said, no, only a couple of months before. And he said, right. And then you said, I think you responded, that's no problem. Then you said, I might have got the gun just then. I can't remember, like 2 days before or something.
Well, like I said, when you're supposed to stop the clock, let me heal my mind from my hysteria and everything else. I'm not going to answer any questions coherently. I was incoherent, I was hysteria, I was totally in Pluto. So whatever I said didn't make sense. And I read one time this confession, and it shows nothing but hysteria, and incoherence. There is no coherence whatsoever, hardly at all, in this confession. It shows I am freaking out. And so any questions that I answer are not going to be coherent, or, well, if you even want to say honest, because I can't be honest, because I can't say the truth of what's happening, because I'm incoherent, I don't know. And I'm telling you right now, I got the gun in Rutland, so take it from there. That's all I can do.
Well, then on that same page, the discussion concerning Mr. Mallory resumes. That's page 9. And Detective Morzave said, okay, so you're back there, you jump out of the car. Your response was, I jumped out of the car because he was physically starting to abuse me. Page 9, next to the bottom.
Okay.
And I remember now, he didn't give me any money. This was another guy. This guy, he said, well, I'll give you no. I said, well, I always take my money first. See how the merchandise is. And then the question, this was Mr. Mallory who told you? Your answer, yes.
Mm-hmm. I do recall him saying something about merchandise, but that was...
Okay. There's no question you jumped out of the car, though, with Mr. Mallory before you shot him.
No, I jumped out of the car after he was shot 3 times, and I ran to the driver's side, opened the door, was looking at him. He was starting to come out at me, and I just said, don't come any closer to me or something like that. I'm gonna have to keep shooting you if you do. And he just kept on coming, and so I shot him.
All right, so you shot him 3 times from, according to you, inside the car, right?
I shot him 3 times, yeah.
That's not an automatic pistol. You have to pull the trigger and cock it.
No, it shoots real easy.
Really?
It's got like a hairpin trigger to it.
And after you shot him 3 times, where did those bullets hit him?
Well, all I know is that he was reaching his arm, and since I've seen from you guys, one must have went under there. And I don't know where the others at. They went in the front area. I don't know where.
Then you got out the passenger door and ran all the way around the car, correct?
Yeah.
According to this story.
Mm-hmm.
Then you opened the door, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then you shot him again.
He was coming out of the car, and I do even state it in here now if you want to say something about he's getting out of the car somewhere in here. I'm 55 or something. 53. Yeah, it's 53. I think.
And you said that this discussion about money, you hadn't asked for the money, but you thought he was a pretty nice guy, is that right?
Say that again?
You hadn't asked for the money in advance because you thought he was a pretty nice guy, is that right?
Yeah, because I had traveled with him from Tampa to Daytona. He hasn't tried anything on me yet, so.
Alright, and then you go
Get all
on.
the worldly chances to when we stop to take leaks and everything.
Alright, and yeah, you were saying he was just listening now. You said, you talked about the money. He said, this is what Mallory told you? And you said, yes. And they said, okay, waiting for your next explanation. And your answer was, so I said, well, since I've been talking to you all night long, I think you seem like a pretty nice guy, so okay, let's go have fun. So I started to lay down, and he's gonna, unzip his pants.
Objection, Your Honor. Is there a question, or is he just reading her statement to her?
Did you say that? Is that what happened?
I'm telling you that's not what happened. I'm telling you I'm incoherent again in this statement, not expressing myself right what really happened. And I go into other details with other people in here where I'm totally talking about one person, another person, even talk about Richard Mallory in
I
there.
advise you not to talk about any other charges.
Well, you talk about Mr. Mallory here, though, weren't you?
Apparently it says this is what Mr. Mallory told you. I say yes, but then you go okay, and then I go carry on. But believe me, I'm not talking. I'm incoherent. I'm not saying it right.
Well, this doesn't sound incoherent.
I'm thinking of another incident with him.
Listen to this sentence. You said, why don't you take your clothes off? My God, I said, well, it hurt to do that.
Yeah, that sounds pretty incoherent to me.
And then he got pissed, called me, he said, fuck you, baby. I'm going to screw you right here and now, or something like that. Was that Mr. Mallory?
I didn't remember the night what happened. I did the best I could to get close on that particular thought in mind.
And he went on to say that you were in the woods with the door open, right?
Pardon, what'd you say?
You went on to acknowledge that you were in the woods and the doors of the automobile were open.
They were not open.
But you said they were.
Again, I'm going to have to go over this with you 100 times over because I'm
just asking you to answer. Did you say they were at that time?
I said they were at that time, I guess. I mean,
All right, we've heard your explanation. All you have to do is answer yes or no to this part of the question, okay? And then the question about money. Right after the word okay, you said, I remember that, referring to the woods and the doors open. You said, and I said, no, you're not going to just fuck me. You got to pay. Is that what you said, Mr. Mallory?
like I said,
Is that what you said to Mr. Mallory? Yes or no?
if that's what's in the confessions, I guess I can't say that it isn't. It's there.
Is that what you said to him?
No, I'm saying no.
Okay.
I didn't say it right.
And you say it because you were totally incoherent and didn't understand what you're doing.
Yes, I was, totally. And if you would have saw me 45 minutes before I even talked on the confessions, and when I just got off that phone, you would have seen me in a total hysterical state. Wow. I couldn't stop laughing and crying and everything else that was going on.
And then you continued to say, and he said, oh, bullshit. And that's when I got pissed. Isn't that what you said?
If that's what
Objection, Your Honor, that's not what it says.
That's one person.
I'm sorry.
You're correct. Thank you, counsel. And he said, oh, bullshit. And that's when he got pissed. Is that right?
if that's what it says in there, then I'm telling you, like I said before, I would talk about one person and then it would be another person I'm talking about, then another person and it would be Mallory I'm talking about. With mixing up even, I had it so mixed up in here. There's just, Tyra asked me to erase, get drunk and erase these incidents. Keep erasing. That's just what I did. I erased. And when they started questioning me on these, I was totally lost because I couldn't remember. I had blank spots wrong.
Well, how about today? You told a story about alcohol and anal rape, and you had all sorts of details that you never, ever revealed to the police. Right?
Never ever what?
Revealed to the police.
And I can talk about every one now today, but
Would you
I'm
like to do that?
not going to, no.
Objection, Your Honor. Read again. I would advise you not to talk about any other incident other than Mallory.
Thank you, Your Honor. You say, well, I'm coming back to recollection. Okay, so then we started fighting and everything else, and I jumped out. He grabbed my bag, and I grabbed my bag, and the arm busted. And I got the bag again, and I pulled it out of his hand. And that's when I grabbed the pistol. That's what happened. What?
That is a totally different guy.
And I just shot him in the front seat. Shot Mr. Mauer in the front seat.
But not that way. That's not what happened. I told you it was a different guy, and it even states it was a different guy. That's the same phrase that I say, it's a different story.
Would you tell us who you were talking about here?
Your Honor,
No, I
objection.
can't.
Same objection.
She went on to say that, in fact, you showed where the bullet struck on the videotape, didn't you?
Pardon?
You stood up and showed where the bullet struck on the videotape on the right side, didn't you?
I tried to. I don't remember how I was. Matter of fact, yesterday I didn't notice what I was doing.
And that was talking about Mr. Mallory, wasn't it?
I guess.
Then you go on to page 10 and say, okay, then he proceeded to get out of the car. So he started to get out of the car. I ran around in front of the car. He started coming towards me.
Your Honor, I'm going to have to object again. The prosecutor is reading her statement. He's not asking any questions. If he has questions, I'm sure she'll answer, as long as it pertains to Mallory.
Is that what you told Deputy Ortega?
If it's written there, I guess that's what it says. I can't take the typing and erase it and change it over. I'm trying to tell you the truth today, what actually happened. This is incoherent mishmash jazz.
And then on page 53,
Again, Your Honor, same objection. He's reading the transcript.
well, let's go back to 21. You certainly are willing to admit he's behind the steering wheel when you shot him, aren't you?
I was lying down in the passenger seat, lying down across the whole darn front seat, actually.
He was behind the wheel.
He was up on his knee, one leg down, one knee up on the seat.
And you were lying down?
I was my legs were up, like, and he was having me spread my legs.
Well, if that was true, with the bullet gone in, they come out up high.
Objection, Your Honor.
That's question, sir.
Can you explain why the bullet with which you shot him inside didn't enter
Objection.
low and go upward and high if you were lying on a seat shooting up?
Objection, Your Honor.
I thought that whatever he was so decomposed you couldn't tell. How can you say that?
The pathologist said.
I couldn't tell you. All I know is I shot from the seat down, lying down.
You shot him immediately. Didn't give him a chance to say anything, did you?
Am I supposed to stop the clock and say, rationalize with this guy who wanted to kill me? Who said he was going to kill me?
You didn't give him a chance to say anything when you shot him the first time, did you?
No, I didn't.
What about the second time?
Nope.
What about the third time?
No.
What about the last time when you shot him on the ground?
I didn't shoot him on the ground. I shot him as he was coming out of the car. And I shot him. I told him to stop. Don't move no more. Don't come toward me anymore. And just stay there. He didn't listen. He was coming out of the car, and I shot him again because I didn't know what the dickens he was doing. I didn't know if he had another gun under the seat. I didn't know if he was going to reach for another weapon. I didn't know what he had.
He didn't have a weapon in that car, did he?
How do I know?
Did he have a weapon?
No, he didn't. But how did I
And then
know?
after you shot him, you ran around in front of the car, came around to his side, and shot him some more.
Objection, Your Honor. Asked and answered several times.
Say.
And you said he kind of crawled out of the car and shut the door, right?
He didn't shut the door. I shut the door afterward.
And then you went, drove to Quail Hollow or Quail Run. Whereabouts in Quail Run did you go?
Just as soon as you get off the road, just right there's some place you can park.
Why'd you go there?
Because I was totally nude and I had to get my clothes on. And I also was shook up and I was crying vehemently and I had to get my head back together. And of course I can't ride around nude. I can't drive nude.
How'd you know where Quail Run was?
Because I live out there.
Do that neighborhood, did you?
I know all of Daytona. I've been here since 1974. And I lived in Benell.
And then you went and got some gas, right?
Very little.
You went back to the hotel and you told Tanya to borrow the car. Right?
I told Tyra when I got into the motel room and saw the furniture totally destroyed and everything else, I was going to just not even tell her the car was out there. And I was just going to take a shower and then go back out and hurry up and get rid of it. But when I said that, I said, oh man, we gotta get out of here. The manager's gonna call the cops or whatever. So I told her, I said, I just borrowed a car and the guy's at the motel waiting. I gotta bring it back in 2 hours.
You went in Mr. Mallory's pockets and took his goods and his money, didn't you?
No, I didn't. I went and got his keys. His wallet wasn't even on his possession. It was underneath the seat of the car.
You turned his pockets inside out.
Just to get the keys out of his pocket.
And
I'm sure it just came with the keys. His pocket opened with, he had some pretty tight jeans on.
yeah, they were still zipped up, weren't they?
Yes, they were.
Had his pants on.
Yes, but he was about to unzip them.
And that's what made you mad. It wouldn't take long.
No. That's not what happened.
Then you went on to have the car washed to get rid of any evidence that might be on it, right?
Pardon?
You had his car washed to get rid of any evidence that might be on it.
I had the car washed to make sure my fingerprints weren't in that car because I was scared out of my mind about what I had just done and that I had to, leave his vehicle somewhere.
Did you pawn his radar detector and
I was
his
a
camera?
prostitute. Yes, I did that for food as I laid low. it only $30.
It was $30. What did you give away money from him?
It was for food.
How much money did you get from him?
There was like 30 or 42, $40, something like that. It was less than 50. I remember a 20 and a 10 and some change, like 5 1 or something, 5s and 1s.
When you shot Mr. Mallory, you intended to kill him, didn't you?
Objection, Your Honor.
I had no choice.
You intended to kill him, didn't you?
I had no choice. I couldn't stop the clock and say, well, let's see where I can shoot him at so he'll stay alive. I had to immediately shoot. He was going to kill me. He was going to beat the living daylights out of me, choke me to death, whatever he was going to do this.
You've explained that several times. Just answer the question. You intended to kill him, didn't you?
I say no. And here's your answer. No.
You shot him in the chest?
I had no choice. Wherever I shot him and it killed him, I had no choice. I didn't have a chance to stop the clock and say, shoot him in the leg, shoot him in the foot, shoot him in the arm. And I'm not the greatest aimer. I did whatever I had to do at the quickest moment and without, just as fast as possible. It was spontaneous reaction.
Shot him once in the side, right? Right?
Now I'm going to have to object to ask and answer several times.
And you shot him in the neck, right?
I didn't know he got shot in the neck at all. I didn't hear that he got shot in the neck.
Well, did you see his shirt with a bullet hole in the collar?
Yeah,
Objection, Your Honor. She's already testified she can't remember where he was shot.
Just say it.
Well, didn't you tell Deputy Warzell on page 25, and the question was, but when you decided to pull that gun, that person was going to die. I mean, you weren't just going to shoot him. Remember that question?
yes.
You remember your answer? Oh, I was definitely going to shoot him and let him die.
Counselor.
Isn't that what you said, page 58?
Yes, and I'm referring to a certain situation, and that's the thing. There's certain situations here where there's a number, and every incident was a different situation of the violence that was involved, and the fear and everything else is a certain situation. So when I talk I'm getting those questions, I'm referring of certain situations to certain people and everything else. To see, you can't, nothing can be level to one person.
You can tell it all if you want.
Objection, Your Honor. It's bad faith for him to continue to do this.
She's acting like we're stopping her. We're not stopping her. Yes, sir. Page 58, again, a little ahead of where you said, I was definitely going to shoot him and let him die. These questions are asked by Deputy Warzell. He said, did you give an electric razor to the gentleman who owned the little restaurant where you stay at? Your answer was, yes, I did. The question was, whose razor did that belong to? He said, I think that was Mallory's. Question, Richard Mallory's razor? Uh-huh. Did you give that gentleman or his wife anything else to give? Uh-huh. I just want to get rid of the razor because I didn't.
Objection, Your Honor. Is this a question or is he going to read her transcript?
Were those questions and answers that you gave? Questions asked and answers that you gave?
Yes, and amazingly, that some of the short questions, some of the small...
No, you can explain later. Were those the questions asked, your answers? Yes, sir?
Yes, sir.
And I ask you to look at Exhibit 122. That doesn't appear to be Mr. Mallory's razor.
Okay.
Now you're going to have to object to the prosecutor ripping open the evidence and throwing it down in front of my client.
You know, your objection.
Thank you.
See, Ms. Tanner.
Is that his razor?
I don't know. I was not shown the razor when they asked me, so therefore I do not know if this is his razor or not. I don't know who it belongs to. But he did have one.
Hard to keep up with that much property, isn't it?
Objection.
Hard to keep up with that much property that you take, isn't it?
Objection.
Any objection?
I ask that you instruct the jury to disregard.
Your disregard that question.
You asked to explain the items. Your answer was, I just wanted to get rid of the razor because I didn't, what do I need it for? And I just, are nice to me and shit. So I decided to give them the razor for Christmas or something.
Your Honor, objection again. Is there a question?
Is there a question?
I'm about there. That was referring to Mr. Mallory's razor, right?
Like I say, I don't know if that's his razor or not, and I don't need to lie, he had a razor, but I don't know where. I don't know what it looks like. I know that Tyra wanted me to keep a razor for her to shave her legs with, and that is the only reason I kept the darn thing in the first place. I didn't care about it. I just could have threw it with everything else
My
away.
question to you was this. You were talking about Mr. Mallory's razor at that time.
Yes.
Okay. And then the next question to you, after you're talking about Mr. Mallory's razor, you said, so you, after all these...
Objection, Your Honor.
I'll move past that question.
Just answer the question.
The next question after that was it, but when you decided to pull that gun, that person was going to die. I mean, you were just going to shoot him, and your answer, I was just...
Objection, Your
Ask
Honor.
approach the bench. Yes, approach the bench, is right.
I haven't been able to sit and rationalize out, to think it out and realize what I'm saying because I'm under too much stress, hysteria, everything else. I don't answer any of this jazz correctly. So if I state something like that, it sounds kind of rough. I didn't mean it that way. I just was too under stress and tense. I didn't know how to explain myself.
You also explained to Deputy Orzappo, did you not, that you had to kill because if you didn't kill him, you'd be identified and arrested.
Say that over again.
You had to kill him because if you didn't kill him,
Objection,
you'd
Your
be
Honor. Is he
identified.
referring to Mallory?
What page?
What page?
Page 7, tape 1.
Page what? 1?
7, tape 1. Page 7, tape 1.
Your Honor, I object. This is not related to Mallory.
Oh, it is. Did we approach the man?
We never said.
I'm going to move for a mistrial, Your Honor.
Hold on.
Page 7. So I shot him, and I thought to myself, well, hell, might as well just keep shooting him, because I gotta kill the guy.
Objection, Your Honor. It's here the same grounds. I move for a mistrial. This is not...
If you'll approach the bench,
Didn't you tell Deputy Orzappo that taking Mr. Mallory's property was your final revenge on him?
I told him, if I say it like that and hear like I'm wrong, but this is how it feels. I felt like what he did to me was unnecessary, and so therefore when I took his property for food, I figured, well, like, I don't know, it was like,
Councilman, we have a page. What is it?
No, she remembers it. She remembers.
like he owed me for what he did.
Objection, Your Honor.
I don't know.
Just buy a little page.
So when
Did you tell Deputy Orzeva maybe it was self-defense, maybe it was stupid?
Page, Councilman.
Yes. Take 2, page 29.
did I tell him what?
Maybe it was self-defense, maybe it was stupid.
I recall reading that.
Anyone want to speak? Yes, sir.
Maybe approach the bench.
No, just correct me.
I recall.
Same objection, Your Honor, not focused, and again, we would move for a mistrial. It's generic. Don't answer the questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, may we, sometimes it's having to have a legal argument on some of their objections. Tell Deputy Orzeva you didn't know why you killed Richard Mallon.
I couldn't hear you.
Did you tell Deputy Orzeva you didn't know why you killed Richard Mallon?
Page, please.
Sure.
What page?
Page 4,
On the first one or the second?
first. But what I did, I don't understand why I did it.
Again, Your Honor, I would object. I would direct you not to answer the question, Lee.
I'm not going to.
You advise the flag not to answer the next question.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This wasn't. Also, did you say that you knew you had to because you knew you left some witness out?
Objection, Your Honor.
Find out who you were, you get caught?
Objection, Your Honor. Same grounds. They have instructed.
Inspection of the council.
Maybe we just ask the witness, Your Honor, if it involves Mallory?
No, I won't see this. Your questions are correct.
Isn't one of the reasons you killed Mr. Mallory because you didn't want him to tell on you after you shot him?
What?
You were the delivery, you already shot
When
him.
the question that you asked before, when I had to do what I had to do, if he would have been alive, he would have probably told the cops I tried to rob him and kill him, which is not true, because I am a prostitute. Nobody was going to believe that I'm a prostitute, and that he raped me, and that he tried to strangle strangle me and kill me, and that he was going to probably do all kinds of other things to me throughout the whole day, the next morning, or whatever, how long he was going to keep me. I don't believe that anybody would have believed me, because we've got prostitutes out there that are being killed every day and nobody cares about it. And we've got women being raped every day, and it doesn't seem they're prostitutes, that nobody cares about it. And I have witnessed it with my own eyes, reading the newspapers numerous times. So I believe that nobody would have believed me. So when I made that statement, I meant referring to the fact that nobody would have believed that I was raped and that I had to defend myself. They would have said, "You're a prostitute, we don't care."
So you decided you had to go and kill him.
I didn't. When he was dying, I'm talking about I'm talking about different situations. I'm telling you, I'm not talking about Richard Mallory there. No. I'm talking about a totally different situation.
What did you decide when you shot him?
I'm not going to talk.
After you went around, what did you decide when you shot him the last time, square in the chest?
When he was coming out of the vehicle, that's where it was very obvious to shoot at.
You say that here you are, a woman who is ravaged and naked, right? Right?
Yes, I was naked.
Cord marks around her neck where she's been strangled, right? Right?
Yes.
Bleeding from the anus where you've been raped, right?
Yes.
Alcohol advising bottles where this torture took place, right?
There's alcohol drinks on the hub.
The alcohol was squirted up your anus.
Oh, yes.
A cord with which you've been tied to the wheel and held by the neck.
Yes.
And no one would believe that you've been assaulted.
The marks on my neck were very small. They looked like hickeys.
Well, how about your anus? You said it was bleeding, it was ripped.
It's the way I was too, am I supposed to walk out there nude with a gun in my hand down the road?